to
Trustee Hartman,
Present.
trustee Bratton,
Here.
trustee Brunner,
Here.
trustee Brooklyn,
Here.
trustee Kolmakowski,
Here.
trustee Calvater. Here. President Langfeld.
Here. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're at public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the village board on any issue. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. While the village board encourages input from residents that may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. If you'd like to speak on the budget, there's a public hearing. So we'll wait for that. All other topics, we'll take your comments now. So who do you have there?
I have Colleen Bidlock, 2803 Brewery Road.
If you can, come on up to the mic so we can record it and.
I just wish to share a frustration with your decision on Brewery Road at the September meeting. Putting a path on the west side of Brewery Road, which is where my home is, and I've been there for over 40 years. Was not one of the options presented. And in going to the informational meetings and reading and so forth, I don't recall that ever even being discussed. So to me, then you're choosing to put a path there, voting to push that forward, didn't give the opportunity to comment on that particular choice. And personally, I'm not in favor of a path in front of my. I don't know of any paths in front of homes. I don't think other paths in the front of homes in Cross Plains. And although I didn't want to shovel a sidewalk, I would rather have a sidewalk in front of my house than a blacktop path.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else?
That's the only one I have registered. There's a bunch of emails to be read, but I don't know if you want.
Yeah, is there anybody else that would like to speak during the public comment? Then we'll turn it over to reading of the emails. All right, so we'll go to
Jay, we have one comment
Oh.
online here as well.
Okay, let's go to the
Seth, please go ahead.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'll keep it quick. 2 quick comments. First one on Brewery Road. Overall, I like the design. One comment I have is that it looks like on the south side of Thinness on Brewery Road, they're showing a median. I guess I question that. I like the idea of trying to choke down traffic to get people to slow down and everything, even with the stop sign, but that seems like that island would interfere with the access to and from the driveway right there. It also might reduce the amount of parking that's available on both sides. I'd rather see like a curb bump out or something at that corner, so on the south side of that intersection, to facilitate a safer head. The other comment is about the baseball and wellness facility. I'm in support of it, and I think the village should take this opportunity. It requires a little bit of land dedication to get a privately fundraised facility that would be used by not only some of the sports teams, but could be also used for other community uses. So I'm in full favor of dedicating land at the Bear Park for that. I know the drawing's not meant to be a final design. I would just advise that if this does go through, that the parking lot is designed in such a way that it's not an attractive cut through between Evergreen Parkway and old section of Military Road, because if you make that too attractive to people, they're going to cut through there. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
That is it.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead. I know Michael and Bobby have.
Yeah, I think Brian might get stuff too. You gonna go first, Michael, or?
I kind of do one.
If you could, please identify what, item on the agenda, or they're just,
Right, definitely. These are both concerning Blue Ridge Road.
okay,
This was an email I received this afternoon from Gary Wensing on Hillside Trail. I'm glad to hear that there are still opportunities for adjustment. We're having an email conversation, but this is what he wanted me to pass on. My offering along those lines are that the village needs to have a better understanding of the impact to the residents if the space between the road and the path are varying widths. So a detailed cost if that space is only 1 foot wide, or 2 feet, or 3 feet compared to the currently proposed 4 feet, or even 0 feet and just have the path next to the curb. I suspect there's quite a cost difference with some houses where existing landscape and slope are closer to the road. The result is going to be the same no matter what, a trail and likely some green space between the path and the road, so the village needs to choose the most cost-friendly option. Therefore, the village should have the detailed cost of every option at its disposal before making a final decision on the placement of the path and terrace. My personal support is for the option that causes the least disruption to current residents as well as least cost to the village. This other one I received from an individual, and well, they wanted to remain anonymous. So I don't know if I can enter it into public comment. I did forward it all to the trustees, because she requested that, but
No.
she,
that's a rule.
okay,
No, it's a permit,
okay,
okay,
it makes sense, I just,
right, you can't.
it does, it was a request. All trustees were emailed this. She asked me to forward this to all the trustees, it was mailed it all, but I won't enter it into public comment then. If everyone's in agreement.
Bobby,
I'll do this on Brewery Road, Pauline and Kepi, 2825 Brewery Road. Since Dear Village trustee Michael Polakowski, and I have lived at 2825 Brewery Road for over 45 years. We support the plan as you described and shown in the agenda materials for your village meeting scheduled for November 28th. We've seen too many close calls of children being struck by speeding vehicles, including large gravel trucks. A multi-use trail makes sense, particularly if it is the intention of the village to eventually have interconnecting trails throughout the village. It also makes sense to narrow the road and add speed platforms as proposed. This should help with both the speed of the traffic and the amount of traffic, as some volume of traffic may opt for highway peak. The contour changes as shown in the materials for Monday's board meeting do not show any major changes in the elevations as currently exist. Was a hydrology study performed since the 2018 flood, and was it used for determining the contours for road reconstruction? Also, when does the village plan on starting construction next year? We have native prairie plants we'd like to move out of harm's way before the work begins. We suspect others along our street would appreciate that as well. Those of us with 40-plus-year-old trees near the trail have some concerns about root damage occurring in construction. Finally, just some comments on the street lighting. The current lighting is glaring and invasive to some of the current homeowners on Brewery Road. If new street lights are being currently considered, we'd like to see high efficiency street lights installed that focus the light to intended areas rather than those that cast large amounts of light pollution in all directions. This would be welcomed by the homeowners on Brewery Road and would also save energy. Thank you for putting the announcement in our door and for taking the time and effort to contact affected homeowners. We need more village trustees that take the time to keep us informed. And then the next one I have is regarding the facility. Amberfield 3012 Shady Circle. Hi Bobby, I'd like to express my wishes that we take no action tonight regarding the baseball wellness facility being proposed at the village board meeting tonight until more details have been made available to the public. My primary concerns right now are: number one, this area gets very congested at certain times, posing safety issues to those trying to exit Evergreen Parkway, particularly during school start and end hours. I have found that I can't schedule activities for my children at 4 p.m. because I know we can't get out of our neighborhood in time to make it over to Middleton or Madison at that time. Before adding another facility, we need a second way to exit Evergreen Parkway. Number 2, baseball is largely a male-oriented game, and I'd really like to see equal sports options for both men and women at this new facility, in addition to options for the community at large. This is an opportunity to potentially offer yoga, exercise, or other classes to the public and or incorporate facilities for other sports. We already have 2 nice baseball fields next door, so taking this moment to upgrade or move our pool facility, add tennis courts or soccer fields, etc., would be more impactful community-wide.
Oh, that's,
Oh,
okay, I'm sorry.
sorry.
All right, do you have any, Brian?
I've got quite a few, actually,
Right.
all related to the facility on the agenda this evening. So the first from Tyler Furman. Mr. Mooney, I'm writing you in regards to the proposed wellness center, for which my understanding is on the agenda for the board meeting tonight. I wanted to write and express my strong support for the project. As a father of 4 young boys, one of which is currently playing baseball in Cross Plains, and 3 more who eventually will be in the program. As a family, we would find this beneficial for our family and something we would certainly use for years to come. Obviously, this would be a multi-use facility, but looking specifically at the baseball side of things, this would be an excellent resource for our young kids, as well as for home talent and high school kids in the Cross Plains program. Aside from the personal use, I will say, as someone who works with a lot of the youth baseball and softball programs in Dane County and around the state for 13+ years, indoor space, especially during late fall and winter months, is extremely hard to find. I hear about it on an almost daily basis in winter about finding indoor space. $100 to $150 an hour is usually the going rate for indoor space. Renting out space would be an easy way for the village to supplement some of the ongoing additional costs generated by the new facility. Just a thought. Thank you for your time. The next is from Mr. Dave Starbacker. Brian, we live at 2120 Jovina Street and fully support the proposed wellness center with private fundraising. The next this is from Pete Long, 3001 Shady Circle in Cross Plains. I have deep concerns about the proposed indoor baseball rec facility from an ongoing operating expenses liability, as well as the loss of public green space. Where did I lost my spot here? Public green space at the proposed site. What guarantee is there that maintenance, utilities, and staffing won't fall to the resident taxpayers if and when the baseball supporters run out of their funding? Questions for this evening's board for the community. Where is the survey data showing the overwhelming support for this project among village residents who will be negatively impacted by the traffic and loss of green space the project will bring? What are the projected yearly costs of maintaining, staffing, and providing utilities for the facility and parking lot? And what is the legally binding guarantee that operating expenses won't fall to the village or taxpayers once money or efforts dry up? How will the facility be supervised? Will certain families have a key that they can use to access the facility at any time? And will minors be able to use the facility without adult supervision? Will the space also be used for private events like birthday parties and family reunions on nights and weekends? How late will the facility be open? And have other alternatives been exhausted for indoor baseball practice, such as using the gyms at Park, Glacier Creek, or Middleton High Schools? Have other locations been explored, particularly blighted, previously developed properties closer to the village center? And lastly, why is an indoor baseball facility being prioritized over debt retirement or a new pool or a new police station within the community? Next is from Chris Zimmerman from 4014 St. Francis Street, stating that they're in full support of the Community Wellness Center for Bear Park. The next from Brian Buckle at 3009 Shady Circle. I'd like to raise my concern regarding any future development of the Greenfield area situated on or in the Viridian Glacier Ridge community. The current infrastructure and road network cannot cope with the school traffic entering or leaving Evergreen Parkway, and the early drawings show no additional entry or exits for vehicles. When the school hosts the 5K runs in our neighborhood, the traffic comes to a standstill trying to get onto Church Street. I strongly oppose any development in this area. The next from Travis Hack at 1908 Pat's Place. Good evening, Brian. I'm not able to attend the meeting tonight, but I wanted to show my support on the proposed wellness center in Cross Plains. I feel this center is a great opportunity for young athletes to be able to work on their skills all year long. I also believe that this facility will be used for people of all ages. I've lived in Cross Plains most of my life and have often heard from senior citizens that state that they would really enjoy a warm place to walk during our cold months. Lastly, I am a baseball coach in Cross Plains, so I am biased about this project, but I feel it would be used and supported by the whole community. And last, from Elizabeth Sutherland, as residents of Cross Plains and the Glacier Ridge neighborhood bordering the proposed baseball facility on Evergreen Parkway, we would like to respectfully raise some concerns regarding the project and request more information before the decision becomes final. We currently enjoy the beautiful green space the land provides and know that many of our fellow neighbors and residents of Cross Plains also use this land for recreation, walking dogs, and play in all seasons. We are a community that loves being outdoors, and we are concerned about a potential loss of space in which to enjoy nature. In addition, we have concerns regarding the increase in traffic in an already quite busy area, provided the proximity to the middle school. We'd like to know more about what the plans are regarding exits onto the parkway to include safety measures for the students and teachers at the school. We would also like to seek information regarding plans for long-term upkeep of the facilities, lighting, parking lots, building maintenance, and so forth. We're unable to physically be present at the meeting tonight, but appreciate these concerns being shared. That's it.
All righty. Does anybody else have a public comment or anything to read? All right, we will close public comment. We're going to consent agenda. Upon the request of any trustee, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration under general business. Doug?
I'd like to make a motion to approve as presented.
They have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
It's not moving something from the consent agenda, but is there a possibility to reorder some stuff under general business?
Yes, we will get to that because that is something I wanted to do. All right, so we're at the consent agenda. I have a motion second. I'm not hearing any discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right. Going to report village officers. I just say we have a packed agenda here. If you remember kind of the rules we go by at 10 o'clock, we will assess if we will continue to move on or move the items to the December meeting. So I just want to remind people, and I think there's some new people that were unaware of that rule. All right, Vice President.
I've had a couple people address me about lights on the boardwalk, and I think who's on safety? Yeah. Have you guys talked about it before?
No,
Okay,
not in the last year.
can I ask you to put it on? here?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
All right, other trustee reports. All right, village administrator.
I just had a couple really quick items. Chris Long had written a letter from the Gateway to the Drift List organization letting us know that he will be stepping down at the year's end. So I will be attending a meeting in the coming weeks here to kind of talk about the transition and what that means for the organization going forward. So I'll share updates on that when more information is obtained. One of the things at one of our last meetings was a discussion about a culvert property, which I did look into and found out was sold. So that property is no longer listed as available for village purchase. The last items I had, I've been in recent discussions with Mike Rupiper from the CARP-C organization in Madison to discuss some green infrastructure plan developments and future grant opportunities within Cross Plains related to green infrastructure. I'm going to have a meeting with Mike and some of his colleagues actually this week. And then there's probably going to be some ongoing discussions of some future opportunities to form partnerships with their organization and promote their green infrastructure plan for the Black Earth Creek. And then lastly, one of the discussion items that we've had related to the Village Hall property on Bourbon Road. I have been in discussion with an individual with some experience working with the USDA Rural Community Facilities Loan Program. And I'm working to see if I can finalize their possible attendance at a future village board meeting, maybe as early as next month, to talk a little bit more about that program and how that might be utilized and beneficial for us.
All right, thank you, Doug.
I know, I wanted also to thank Erica Mabry for her years of service to the community as our EMS director, and welcome Kelly Powell to the interim role. Good luck, Kelly.
The information is correct. I didn't know it was public yet. At our meeting, we had a closed section, so I can't speak on it, but
Well, congratulations.
I know you weren't, so, yeah, that the information is correct. All right.
You got this, welcome.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm fine. I just was not at liberty. Okay, so other reports, finance director, clerk, election.
Just a reminder, the spring election will be held April 4th, 2023. There are 3 village trustee positions on the ballot as well as village president. I have printed copies of the nomination paperwork available tonight if you'd like to take one. Otherwise, you can find the forms on Wisconsin Election Commission's website, or you can email me. You may not begin circulating these papers until this Thursday, December 1st. All paperwork must be returned by 5 p.m. Tuesday, January 3rd. Candidates must gather a minimum of 20 signatures from qualified electors in the village. And a reminder that the declaration of candidacy form must be notarized. For any incumbents not seeking another term, you must file a notification of non-candidacy by 5 p.m. on Friday, December 23rd. The village office is scheduled to be closed that day, so please let me know if you're planning to file this, but haven't done so by the 22nd. And I also have a few of those forms available tonight. And then, if you're gonna bring your budget binders in sometime, we can update those with the final budget numbers.
All right, thank you. Okay, we're at general business. I'm making a motion to move number 10 and 13 and incorporate it with number 2, since it affects the budget.
Is that a motion?
I made a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, Cameron, you had something you'd like?
Well, just given the public comment, I think keeping the budget part at the top makes sense. Second, Brewery Road makes sense. And then I'm wondering if we want to move 16 up after the Brewery Road construction thing. So folks who are listening in for that discussion won't have to wait until 10 or later.
I would make a motion to move 16 to number 4.
5, 6,
Sorry.
well, 7.
You didn't?
Yeah, I would move it to 7 because
Is that what you're thinking?
5 and 6 are kind of tied together,
Sure.
the same people.
Yeah, I think moving that makes sense. So I would say then I would make a motion to move it to number 7.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same, so moved. All right, number 1, do I have a motion to go into public hearing on the proposed 2023 budget? So moved.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion to go into public hearing for the proposed 2023 budget in a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are now in public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak on 2023 budget? All right. Is there anybody on the internet that would like to speak to it?
Just a second here. No hands. You're good?
No, good. All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing on the proposed 2023 budget? I have a second. All right, I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on the proposed 2023 budget. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. We are closed. We're back into general business of the board. Number 2 is discussion and possible action, modifications of the 2023 preliminary budget. The first item is the crossing guard. Chief, you would like you to please come up and explain the situation and what your recommendations are.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, what's up?
So crossing guard, we're at it again. We lost our crossing guard again. It's a very tough position to fill with 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening. It's a tough spot. We do not have the staff to do that. Right now, we're, thanks to Mike, Mike Axon and I met, and we said we would figure it out till the end of the year. So they are handling the days, the mornings, and we are handling the evenings. The evenings are being handled only because we're using overtime, because I don't have the staff to do that, to cover that. I talked to the school and they understand. Back when before we lost our crossing guard, we didn't have coverage for like 4 months out of the year during the winter months. The fact that we've gotten really close to our community and working really hard with the community, that has created a funnel for people to walk every morning. So on average, we see between 40 and 50 children cross that strip. We've counted them, so we know that that is happening. I've spoken to the school, and they understand our dilemma, and they are willing to let the parents know that that no longer is going to be a spot to cross. Once we do that, the parents will find alternate way to get to school. Right now, one of the topics that's on the agenda is the traffic there, to create part of it, no parking. It is highly, if anybody has ever seen it, it is a disaster down there with regards to traffic. So what's happening is that parents are pulling into Bear Street, pulling around that little cul-de-sac, dropping off their kids so they can avoid all that traffic flow. And then kids are crossing at that spot. That's what's really happening. Otherwise, they're coming up to through Bear Park, and then they're being picked up in those parking lots. So that's kind of the people's way of avoiding that area. The proposal's simple. We can cover it. We've scheduled it. Mike and I have scheduled it to cover for the rest of the year. But after January 1st, I just don't see how we could do that. And it's irresponsible to say, even with us there at night, it's irresponsible for us to say that we're going to be there. If we have anything of an emergency, we're going to have to pull that officer from that spot. Now you're giving people a false sense of hope that someone's there, and then God forbid something happens there and we're not there. I think that increases our liability. So I don't know what to do about it. We've posted it. We've done everything we can. We've tried to recruit. It's a problem all over. It's not just a problem here. It's all over. They're having trouble with that. Now, that doesn't mean that we should stop trying to fill it. I think we continue to fill it. Part of it was to increase the pay. The pay is like $12 an hour. That's not a very good pay. More consistent would be $18 an hour. That's what the Middleton Cross Plains School District is paying. So that would be more consistent with that. So I would recommend that we increase that and continue to post it in hopes that we can cover it. But I think that the village board has to make a decision tonight and support us not being at that location.
Okay, I'm getting kind of mixed messages here. So one point you say we should raise the pay to 18 and try to fill it. On the other hand, you're saying that we shouldn't fill it with officer.
We definitely shouldn't fill it with officers. I think we can continue to post it if you guys would like. It is not something that the school takes care of. They will help us post it, but they won't fill the positions for us. We can continue to advertise it and in hopes that somebody steps up. The decision that I'm looking for is that you decide that the police department is not going to man that post.
But I'm trying to get back to where you're correct. We need to notify the parents. So I'm trying to figure out how we do that. If we call them and tell them there isn't going to be anybody there, then I think it's pretty clear. They have a clear understanding. I just don't know, how would you do it if we post it, we get someone, they're there for 2 weeks, and because even at $18, you're looking at $9 in the morning, $9 in the afternoon. It's only a half hour each one.
No, I think they said 18 an hour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but think about if you work in a half hour,
Oh,
It comes out.
it comes to 18 a day. I mean,
okay.
so what I'm trying to do is, I agree, we need to have a consistent message to parents. But I'm trying to figure out how we do this. So if we hire someone, then we notify the parents, okay, now there's a guard there. When they don't, then we notify them again. I mean,
If you're looking for a clear answer from me, I think we need to be out of the business of crossing guards.
okay, that's kind of where I'm
That's
coming
my
from.
opinion.
Okay. I have Cameron and then Andy, did you want, yeah,
What do they do at the elementary school? I happened to be over there at school start, and there was someone, letting kids cross, but it's not a position we pay for, right?
I think they may put, staff member, I think they do it a little differently because they have staff out front. Just kind of helping kids get out of cars and, it's a little bit of different traffic flow there. And I think that they've always kind of, had their staff come out and receive the younger children and then the children with special needs and things like that. So they help, do that. Our SRO does spend time there in the morning, not crossing people, but just, slowing people down. And then he goes to Glacier Creek and does that as well. But doesn't sit at the crossing guard portion of it.
right. I have Andy, then Michael, did you wanna? No, okay, Andy.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's like for lack of a better term, a technological fix to this. I know we have a standard crosswalk there, you push the button, it flashes. I wonder if maybe putting in more signage, since we're gonna be spending $3,000 a year for a $18 a day crossing guard. If we looked into any of that, just to try and increase visibility of the space as a village in lieu of being able to hire a human being to be there to help kids out.
We have not looked at any additional signage. I don't know if it would help. There's so much traffic there. In the flashing lights, that doesn't draw up. Sometimes that doesn't even draw the attention. There's so many cars that are, and we work traffic there. Like, if anybody has ever seen us there, we're there every morning, slowing people down, making traffic stops. This morning I had a traffic stop of 47 miles an hour in the 25 zone. I mean, people are flying in and out of it. They're trying to beat the traffic. They're trying to beat the traffic out. There was a mother on earlier talking about, they can't even schedule things at 4 o'clock because they're right. They can't get out of it. It is a problem.
Anybody else would like to comment or thoughts or?
Well, I think there needs to be a communication. It sounds like there's an interim till the first of the year. I think that needs to be communicated that we have it covered. And then I also think I would like to propose that it's $20 and I'm gonna give it another try to recruit, But if we're not able to fill it moving forward, I think that's part of the communication now. We're like, I don't think we'll have any after, and we can recommunicate if we find somebody.
Yeah, I don't have a problem going to $20 either, but I think what we need to have. I don't have a problem trying to find someone, but what we can't do is. 2 weeks we have one,
Right.
then we lose it, and then I mean, there's that gap, so. We can try, if we want to give it another try at a higher one, but then I'd like to give permission to the chief, if we can't fill it, then we just get out of the business. Because otherwise it's gonna be coming back a lot. Okay, I've got Judy and then Andy, go ahead.
Question, if you guys go that route, so is there gonna be an expectation until we decide so much time and then we're gonna fill it until that time? Or are we, what I'm looking for is ending it
The first of the year.
or January 1st, there's no one there anymore.
So,
Clear message to the parents. And then, yes, we can post it, and if we fill it, then we give a clear message to the parents that we have a position, that position is there.
my thought process would be to recruit for 2 or 3 weeks. If you don't find anybody following the ending of January 1st.
Okay, Judy, go ahead.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Go to like, I don't know if they share the folders anymore, but somehow they must communicate with the parents.
Mhm.
I'd have the schools, both St. Francis and that one, in Glacier, say to the parents, you know what, as of January 1st, we don't have anybody. We will still keep looking, but if we can't find somebody, and if we do find somebody, we'll let you know again, but. As of January 1st, then.
That makes sense.
Andy?
I'm just wondering if we sent this out to all of the departments in the village, anybody interested in an extra $10 on the way to work and on the way home from work, we got an email saying, hey, you wanna make some extra cash, grab a bus, teacher. Anybody can do it. So, I mean, that was just a question, if we maybe reached out to Parks and Rec or anybody.
I think they have, and it's been social media.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been everywhere, and like I said, thanks to Mike for volunteering his staff and himself to work that in the mornings to help us out. We couldn't have done it without him. Like I said, in the evenings, we're using overtime to cover that, for the most part, it's about 64. Okay.
All right, well, can someone please put that into a motion?
I'll make a motion that as of January 1st, we inform the parents as of January 1st that we no longer have a crosswalk person. We will we're gonna up the pay. We'll talk about up in the pay, but anyways, we'll keep posting it to see if we can find someone. If we can't, we can't.
All right, okay, how about if everybody, if you can, why don't we do increase the crossing guard pay to $20? If unable to fill the position, we're gonna end the position
As of
January 1st.
I'll second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same, so moved. All right. So 10 is taken care of, so 13. There's multiple things. I'm making a motion to move the comp time and the vacation carryover to the December meeting to give staff time to come up with a more detailed policy or process.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. I just don't think it's ready right now, and we'd be spending a whole lot of time going through a lot of different parts of it, so I think it's best to move it. We have a staff meeting, not next week, the following week, so we should be able to take care of it.
You're moving the entire agenda.
No, not all 13. 13 has about 5 items in it.
Okay,
I'm moving the comp time and the vacation carry. The comp time was going from 24 to 48 hours. The vacation carryover was going from 40 to 64.
So you're leaving the holidays on the agenda.
Yeah, we're gonna go through those.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just too many things to do it all at once. So we're taking it piece by piece.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I'll
So-
second that. Yeah, well, that already did.
Yeah, we're at discussion. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same, so moved. All right, now we'll go with Martin Luther King Day. This was on there. I think we already passed the police contract and the pay compensation for our employees, and it included Martin Luther King, so we just have to put it into the paperwork for the proper place. It's in the contract, but it's not in the workbook, whatever. What do you call that? Your employee handbook. So that's where we need to put it. So do I have a motion to approve that for the employee handbook?
Yeah, I would move to approve adding Martin Luther King Jr. Day to the employee handbook as a paid holiday.
Here, do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead, Michael.
So moving this over, now will apply to all village employees.
Yes,
Okay.
all employees will have Martin Luther King as a holiday, correct? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, the next one is in there was the 2 and 2 vacation days. That non-representative were requesting. Here's my view on this. We have met with the union and resolved that, and with agreement there. Brian and I met with department heads. We had an agreement there. We passed that. So I don't think we should continue this. They're different ones. They were balanced. Our job is to make sure all employees are equal. I think we've settled that. I think this is bad precedence to open that up to do that. While it is true, the police ended up getting 2 more vacation days, but they didn't get a 4% raise and they didn't get any merit pay in there. I don't think you can cherry pick from each contract on what you get. I think we have agreements. We've done it. We should move on. So my recommendation is that we keep both agreements as is, not make any modifications.
You need a motion to do that?
Yes.
I will make that motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it.
I don't understand what the motion is.
The motion is to keep both contracts as is, as already voted on and agreed upon. The request right now is because police got 2 more vacation days, non-reps want the 2 vacation days.
Much like how we just gave the Martin Luther King to the all village employees, we were talking about changing it so all village employees would have the 2 additional vacation days, what we were discussing, right?
Correct.
And not yet, but not equalizing them.
Right, because that was part of the agreement, yes. They were separate agreements. People take different things when you negotiate. Yeah. Bobby?
I was just saying, this just, I think it's a little confusing, so it's altering our, like, vacation schedule, so how like the police. The people that are a year or under a year get more at the beginning and then less as they age, like at the end? Is that what? you're
The
talking
police contract, part of that was they ended up getting 3%. They ended up getting 2 more vacation days for the younger, and we took 3 vacation days away from the seniors block.
Right, yeah.
Right? We gave the $500 towards ballistic vests every 5 years. All right, so we negotiate separate contracts, so they're separate, just like they didn't get 4% like some of our employees. They didn't get merit pay built into their pay. So when we negotiate, we've got to try to make all employees fair. And to me, this was a benefit that they negotiated for versus getting something else. They were offered the same as you, they chose to go with it. I don't have a problem if you want to give up the 1% in the merit pay to get the 2 days vacation, but it's not fair to look at the other side and say, I want this part because I didn't get it. When you got something else, just like it wasn't fair for them to want this when they got something different. We agreed with them, with the parties, and when we left, everybody was happy. It went to the board, we all voted on it. I think this is bad precedent to try to go back and change the negotiations. We
Okay.
can certainly do it next year.
I was gonna say, I like that because as hard as it's gonna be to fill positions in the next few years with younger people, I think if we offer them those 2 extra days at the beginning, I think it'll be easier to recruit new people, so.
I don't disagree with you, but the hearing from the department heads at the time, they looked at getting an extra 1% to bump up the pay. Right? So we gotta try to be fair with all our employees. I don't think any action needs to be taken on. Yeah, I guess we did. You already made the motion. Yeah, we're at discussion. All right.
Well, I'm just wondering, I don't recall ever seeing numbers to say this is equitable and fair, because these 2 days are worth X amount of dollars comparatively speaking to adding that 1% bump to the record.
Well, if you want to, I can certainly sit down with you and show you, because I'm probably one of the only ones that put value to everything. That's how I kind of.
If you
But
are telling me that, I.
yes, I spent a great deal, and when police came to us after we gave the non-representative employee the 4%, they were all upset and wanted. I said, fine, take the 4% and we're taking this off the table, right? You can't have both. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna tell you, I feel like somewhat in good faith, we negotiate these, and everybody has different things because they mean different. These guys have no value in having a bulletproof vest, right? So do they want $500 towards a bulletproof vest? Probably not. They're not gonna use it. That is something police can, but there's a value. Simple value to that is $100, right? Every 5 years, we give them $500, divide 5 into 500, that's $100. So there goes on the table, that's worth $100.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I did it.
well, be careful what you wish for, man, because sooner or later, maybe a lot of people are gonna need bulletproof vests.
Well, then they can bring that up. At the department head, I didn't see anybody ask for that.
I understand, I understand, but I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's just, my whole thing is. We had these discussions early on when we passed these agreements.
Correct.
So I'm just I just think we need to honor them and
We've had plenty of discussions in the past,
yes.
and we've put a lot on our department heads. And when you say we negotiated, I think you're talking about you. So, like, when this comes on the agenda, it's completely acceptable for ask questions and to reconsider items. So that's all I'm trying to do here.
All right, so just to correct that, the bargaining group for the police union was Brian, myself, and the chief.
Mhm.
For the department heads, I guess you could say it was Brian and I and all the department heads. And we had agreement at the end of that. All right, that's what it was. All right, Jerry.
I'm a part of that.
Yep.
I remember discussing the wages with you and Brian. I do not remember any discussion regarding anything to do with vacation, bulletproof vests, nothing.
All right, did you have something you wanted to discuss?
I would like to discuss whatever it was you just are trying to do the board out here, yeah. I don't think it's appropriate for you to sit up there and talk about meeting with department heads to discuss things. And that did not take place, Jay.
All right, I did not discuss the parts of the police contract, that is correct. But we sat
You're
down,
sitting there saying that you did discuss.
no, I'm not saying that, I said I discussed with department heads the agreement on what the compensation would be for your side, there's 2 different agreements here.
And we discussed wages.
So do you think okay, let's just play it out. Would your people give up the 1% for the 2 vacation days? Because I'm pretty sure the board might go along with that, if that's what you want.
That was not an option given to us when we were discussing wages. If you want to discuss that as an option, put it on an agenda,
It is on the agenda.
not on a staff agenda.
Okay. we have to pass the budget unless we want to do another hearing. Another meeting. You know, I just,
So fine, pass the budget. My point here that I'm trying to get across is don't misrepresent a discussion that you say you had with us that you did not have.
we're just gonna have to disagree. I sat down with all department heads and we went through.
There's four of us sitting here, none of us can remember meeting with you on this subject.
On what, the vacation?
Yes.
I didn't know the vacation was even wanted. This came up out of the blue. I was as shocked as you when I saw it on the agenda. It shouldn't have, in my opinion, it shouldn't have even been on the agenda. The agreements were done.
And who put it on there?
That's me. That was,
Why is it on there?
that was my discussions with another employee that I misunderstood how that was to be handled. That was
I
on me.
suggest you remove it from the agenda then.
Well, that's what we're doing. All right,
I think the underlying problem here is there's a lack of transparency in which things are occurring at the village level that I would just like to see increased. Like, that's all I'm saying.
okay. Any other comments?
Well, we are taking action on this.
Yes.
Well, I'm hearing, don't do anything, because this shouldn't have been on the agenda at all, but we already added Martin Luther King Jr.
No. The item needs to be on. It should have been broken up. The item that shouldn't have been on here, which is new to me,
Is the one we're talking about right now.
yes.
Okay,
We all agreed on Martin Luther King way back.
right.
And I'm almost positive I brought that up at even our department head meeting, but. I'm at a lot of meetings.
I also believe that you can give a 1% raise and 2 extra vacation days.
All right. We have this item, so let's take a roll call vote. It's to not go with the 2 vacation days.
Well, the motion is to keep both contracts as is.
As is correct.
Trustee Paul Mikowski.
Motion is to keep both agreements as is.
To keep both, okay, keep both contracts with
Police
it.
contract and the employee contract.
Yes.
Trustee Hartman.
Yeah.
Trustee Brooklyn.
Yes.
Trustee Brenner.
Yes.
Trustee Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Keller.
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right. The last one of item on 13, I believe, is the $500 for the vest. So as we mentioned, the officers union received $500 for a vest to replace their vest every 5 years. The chief and the lieutenant are also officers, so it's on here to also give them the $500 towards a vest. A vest runs about $800. And it would be $500 into their clothing allowance for a vest only.
And that's over 5 years.
Yeah,
It happens once every 5 years.
correct.
Just to clarify, then we're asking them to pay for 5/8 of their best. Or 3/8.
Well, they receive $522, I think, for clothing allowance to replace shirts, pants, other equipment. So this would be an addition to that, but it would could be used only for a bulletproof vest.
Like, we approved the police contract that said we'd do that.
Right.
So we're doing it.
Yes,
But it's the 2 officers that come together.
yeah, the chief and the lieutenant are not. part of that.
Non-union, yeah.
I motion to approve that non-union members of our police force fall under the village police vest replacement policy.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. So move. All right, I believe that covers everything in 13. So now we're gonna be moving to the administrative assistant. It's been summarized. Chief, you wanna come up here and explain the administrative assistant and the clerk of courts.
Well, so this was a question I had.
Okay.
I saw the packet items for that. But unless I'm missing something, I don't see anything on the general business.
It's on the modification of the preliminary report.
Okay. Okay. I want to have the discussion. I just wanted to make sure we
No.
weren't gonna screw something up.
No.
If we voted for something that we couldn't.
No, and it's been noticed in the packet.
Okay, so history, both of those positions were joined at some point in the 90s. Person who holds that position, there was a COPS grant that was received in 94, I think, to provide extra hours for the administrative assistant. And then just like everything else, new duties came up and which is the habit for a lot of municipalities, so Cross Plains is not any different. You find other roles and then people that fit in those roles, take on those roles, and then they get a little increase in pay. So in this case, the clerk of court position became part of that role. Now, there's state law that governs that, and although a lot of municipalities did that for a while, it is not recommended for you to have a clerk and also administrative assistant be the same person. There has to be a separation. There's a state law that specifically talks about that. You could have the same person, but they should be separated by location, maybe office space, those kind of things. Not to make it silly, but this is how silly it is in our department. Somebody could actually, and I've heard it from my office, somebody will call the clerk of courts, she will answer the phone, provide information about the courts, and then ask questions that require police assistance. So then she has to say, why don't you need to call the police department? Provides them with the number, she literally hangs up the phone, the other phone rings, she picks it up, and now she needs the police administrative assistant. It is silly, and I don't know how we've gotten away with it for so many years, but that it feels unethical and not quite right for her to have both roles, two different functions, completely separate. And people should feel that the court system is not connected to the police department. There should be that separation. It's just a basic separation. And state law covers it. So that's where we are as a department. Right now, nutrition, this is the time to separate it. A lot of people have done it that way. As positions vacate, you separate it. So my recommendation is that you separate that immediately. I have spoken to the person that is in that position. She thinks that a clerk of courts could do it with 10 hours of work to handle our court cases. We handle about on average, depending on the year, 200, 300 citations a year. We've had some heavy years with well over 300, but most of the time that you'll be able to handle it that way. Separating it will then just give us the administrative assistant to just focus on administrative assistant work. And that's basically the recommendation.
Hey, Judy,
I think you did answer it, where you had said for 4 years, could we get it 5 to 10 hours a week? Could we post it for 10 hours?
I'm going with her recommendation because she's the one that does it now. If anybody knows who the administrative assistant is, she's very, 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 very efficient. And so she has really been able to fold that position pretty nicely into her duties. I don't know what the new person would do and how that would fall. But she thought comfortably somebody could do 10 hours. Now, we may be back next year saying, hey, I can't handle that role at that amount. I don't know, but I'm going with her recommendation because she's the one that's doing that.
Would you like two separate motions or?
Well, I think we gotta do two things. One, we've got to make a motion to split the position. And then we'll do motions to allow him to pose for both of them. That's how I think it should be done.
I'll make the first motion to split the position as presented by Chief Tony.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion, and I take when you say you're doing the 10 hours then? For the clerk?
Yes,
Okay,
as presented.
okay. Well, I was
Well,
confused.
they presented actually 40, right?
No, 40.
Forty
is
is
the
good.
administrator.
Okay.
I-
10 hours a week, yeah, yeah.
All right, and let's, all right, we should do this and then we should just see what. If people are, yeah, okay, let's just keep this right now. I'm thinking ahead. All right, any other discussion on this? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same, so moved. So then we're posting the two, are everybody comfortable with the pay ranges that are in the memos?
Yes.
Those pay ranges came from statistical data that I collected, so they're well within those pay ranges. Obviously, they're significant lower than that position, but you also don't have the 28 years experience at that position. So I think starting at those pay ranges was good. Before you make a motion to allow me to post, I would just ask that you not put me in a position to post for the court position.
Oh, gotcha.
That has to be done by the village, so
Okay,
I can be completely out of it.
so why don't we do separate motions then? Let's do the administrative assistant to post at the pay ranges presented. The chief. Commission. Can I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. That we allow, the chief-
Father.
I just had a church meeting. Chief of the police to post for the administrative assistant, for 40 hours a week, agreeing to that pay scale, pay range.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right.
Don't let the gray hair fool it, not them.
Okay, I have,
Older the father.
all right, I have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same, so moved. All right, the next one would be a motion to have our administrator post the clerk court at the range and the hours that have been recommended. We have a motion.
I'll make the motion that the village administrator posts the position for court clerk with the presented hours and pay rate.
All right, do I have a second?
One second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second discussion.
I mean, I'm all for trying to post the position, but do we have any concerns like the crossing guard? I mean, I understand 30 minutes in the morning and night is a lot different than this, but I mean, it's still 10 hours a week. That's not.
We've also looked, we're looking also into another option. Black Earth and Mazo have joined. So there's that possibility that maybe we could do a regional area.
The other thing I wanted to discuss
Yes.
is if we had any information on that you just said.
Oh, I don't, did we get a hold of her? It was the holidays when we tried to pull this together.
Yeah, she had a follow-up question, which I got information back to her today on. But yeah, I have not heard a response back yet, and they're looking into some other stuff related to it right now, which I have not heard back on.
So we're keeping that on the table, and we're also looked at in-house employee. I don't know if that's panned out or not, but there could be an employee that would also be interested in those extra hours.
How does any of that affect the motion of posting this position?
It doesn't.
Okay.
We can always cancel. Would bring it back, obviously.
I guess the reality is that there's gonna be a retirement, and that's happening no matter what, so I think the quicker you post it, better off you're gonna be.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Oh, Bobby?
I was just gonna add that, in approving both of these positions to post at these hours and ranges, we will have to change the budget to
Yes.
a corporate, so. Just so you're all aware, we'll have to put extra into the budget for.
It should be on.
Hmm?
The left one.
Because we're adding the 10 hour, which was incorporated for it, but that's why we're doing it now. Because when people vote now on the budget, they know we've added this to it. Correct. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed. Thank you, chief. All right, I think I've hit everything for number 2, 10, and 13. Have I missed anything?
I think we got it. I
Okay.
think that's it.
All right, so then we'll move on to number 3, which is discussion and possible action on the 2023 budget. We will be taking them A through H individually with motions. Before we start, Bobby, do you want to give an overview of your memo?
So the property tax levy, as it was posted in the budget before we made all these changes, was $3,327,403. That's an increase of about 3.36%. But because of growth, that means that the tax rate actually will increase 1.21%. On a home valued at 300,000, that change is about $31 of an increase. That's kind of the long and short of it.
Well, I got a couple things that I just wanna, I guess, point out. You stated in there that the 2023 budget is 108,000 more than last year, including the new revenue. We are about $97,000 away from the levy limit. And I guess my question to you, Bobby, is if we hadn't received the 91,000 from the expenditure program, would it have been just 6,000, or is my calculation wrong on that? If we didn't get the 91,000.
Right, because we would have had to budget for the retirement benefit, so yeah, we would have definitely cut into that levy limit more.
What is the 91,000 Jay's referencing?
So the state has a program, if you can only increase your expenditures from year to year by a certain percentage. And if you stay within that, you get like an incentive bonus, and our budget for 2022 met that, so that means in 2023, we get a $91,000 payment. So we chose, I think at the last meeting, to use that money to fund the retirement benefit.
So just a little history, the last 5 years, we've only received the money twice. So that is something that's on that list of looking to get into, so we continue to get that money because it's a nice pot of money. And only the village, and we're in a category with villages, so we have this pot of money, and whoever makes that limit gets divided into that pot, so it changes. 5 years ago, we got 61,000. So, and we'll be talking about that later on as one of the things to do to help us. So we don't go over the,
And so then the 2023 budget will qualify also, so we could get a payment in 2024. It might not be the 91,000, but we will get a payment.
yep. All right, and then my last question is, while you mentioned some of the capital, what do you think is the amount we're gonna be borrowing, not including sewer and water?
Hang on. what's that? I got one.
Yeah.
Technology only works when you don't need it.
Okay, we can move on. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think that's an important number. I'm just gonna go on, let's go with, start with A, motion to approve the general fund.
I'll go, to approve the general fund.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the general fund. Any discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Calvater,
Yes.
trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Brooklyn,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
president Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, B is capital fund. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve capital fund.
Second.
I have a motion and a second discussion. That number hasn't popped up yet on.
Nope, I got it.
What is it?
About 1.2 million.
Okay, that is, if you remember the Ellers report, for us to be able to build the police station, village hall. They had set 600,000 for this year for capital at 2.7. We're at 1.2. And we're not gonna borrow at 2.7. I think it's gonna be higher than that, don't you think, Judy? Twice that maybe?
Hope not twice, but it's 1.5.
Okay, so it's just something. You wanted to say something
I
about
was
it?
gonna say the Ellers report doesn't mean we can't borrow more than that. That's just what they used in their projection.
Well, the projection was so we could build the building without increasing property taxes.
Right.
And what they did is they recognized that you can't go years without improving. Using capital funds, so they did 600,000 this year, 600,000 next year, and then we'd be able to borrow and stay within our debt service numbers. So I still think, well, I agree with you, it was a projection, but the projection was because we wanted to build the station and village hall without increasing the property tax. So I just want to point that out where we burned up pretty much the next 2 years. So something in the future. I'm not going to support this because I think it's just too much. But anyways, that's my. All right. Any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Trustee Brooklyn,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Calvater,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
president Lightfoot.
No. All right, library fund. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion as presented to approve.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second, discussion. All in, well, no, we'll do a roll call vote, I'm sorry, roll call vote,
Trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Calvater,
Yes.
trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Brooklyn,
Yes.
president Lightfoot.
yes. All right, debt service fund,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
all right, roll call, any discussion, roll call vote,
Trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Calvater,
Yeah.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Brooklyn,
Yes.
president Lightfoot.
yes. All right, the tax increment district fund, E, we're at E. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve this presented.
Do I have-
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call vote?
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Brooklyn,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
Trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Calvater,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, F is in Frank, water utility fund. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, motion to, approve this presented.
Do I have a second?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to approve the water utility fund discussion. Roll call vote.
Trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Calvater.
Yes.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Bertram,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, do I have a motion for the sewer utility fund?
I'll move to accept the sewer utility fund budget as presented.
I will second.
I have a motion and a second discussion. Roll call vote.
Trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Bertram,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Calvater.
Yes.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right, H is in Henry, resolution setting the 2022 payable 2023 tax levy and adopting the 2023 budget. And that would be with the changes that we made earlier.
I'll make a motion to approve this presented.
1 second.
All right, I have a motion to approve, motion to approve the setting of the 2022 payable 2023 tax levy and adopting the 2023 budget with changes.
Gotta get some good thing.
No, I was gonna say, book changes.
Yep,
Perfect.
yep.
Okay, needed.
Yep. All right, any discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bertram,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Calvater.
Yes.
Trustee Bratton,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
President Lightfoot.
Yes. All right. Budget is done, folks. For another year. All right, number 4, discussion and possible action, Brewery Road reconstruction engineers final design plan. Are they here tonight or are they? Oh, there they are, okay. I didn't see where you came from.
Get stuck with me instead of Brian tonight.
All right,
So what we've been tasked with tonight, so Brian put together the attached, aerial photo and alignment showing the street widths and path that was discussed at that September meeting. And the goal now being transitioning to final design, which will be the next agenda item. We need to get some decisions from the board in terms of how we want this layout to fit. With the big question at the moment being utilization of that 66-foot wide right of way. And the road alignment fitting within that 66-foot right of way. What that looks like on section views, which is the elevation cuts, is retaining walls or no retaining walls down this corridor. What we have shown does not have retaining walls on it. So the thought being cost savings now and 20 or 40 years when those retaining walls need. But what that does is shifts the alignment east and west in certain spots to try to blend some of those existing grades. From here, then all of the underground piping, sanitary, water and storm would get designed. So to date, none of that is on here. This is purely conceptual and looking for guidance on which way we want to go with the alignment. So as shown, there's the 32-foot sections of road, there's a 36-foot section of road in the center, and then that 8-foot wide asphalt path on the west side. All shouldn't be a surprise to you all from that September meeting. So I guess that's where we're at. That's where we're looking for direction on which way to go. So as presented in the packet, blending into existing slopes on the east side means moving that alignment and the path further west on Brewery. We're all within the right of way in an effort to eliminate retaining walls from the scope.
all right. Go ahead, Judy and myself.
One quick question though, that I heard tonight by number 1, the Colleen that talked earlier. Did the people on Brewery Road, did they know about the path ahead of time, or I was told tonight they did, so was that a?
I wrote it down and I wish I could answer that, but I was.
Well, Michael and I, it was not discussed at the public hearing. The community meeting. The board voted on that at our last meeting when it came up, after discussion and talking about retaining walls and moving things across the road. So it was kind of, it came up from the discussion of the board. It was not one that was presented at the public hearing, to answer your question.
And what about the meetings? Were they presented in there? I don't remember them.
No, because they were gonna be in the future, because there was all kinds of suggestions on traffic calming.
Yeah, and purely conceptual, I mean, this is as far as design has gotten, so these traffic calming measures, things like that are in an effort to address some of the comments that have been received thus far. Where they specifically end up, if they end up in there, will all need to be discussed as we get further into design.
This, what you're showing right here, what is the distance from the edge of the path to the inside curb line? Is there a terrace still there?
Depending on where you go on that western edge, it varies, which is in response to the tightest it gets from the path to the right of way is 4 feet, and then it from right away to property line, or excuse me, edge of path to property line right of way is 4 feet, and then it gets further and further.
Well, I'm just trying, the terrace is what I'm talking.
curb to path?
Yeah,
Oh, curb to path all the way through is the standard 4 feet. So there's
okay,
there is property line with at least 4 feet of grass space. To an asphalt path that is 8 feet wide. To a 4 foot wide terrace to the back of the curb.
now, the last, and I am not an engineer. Is how much on the, when you say we moved, the road moved off the east side because of, we didn't want the retaining walls because of what you mentioned, the cost and the maintenance and the difficulty in plowing.
Trying to mitigate some of those steep driveways.
Right. So how deep are you going into the right of way, which is currently there now, from the curb to where the path is? Do you hear what I understand?
How far are you moving the curb to the west?
Thank you, yes.
Curb to the west
On
is
the east side of the street.
on the east side.
No, it'd be on the west side of the street going west. I want
east side is.
to know how much of these people are they losing of their grass?
Brian, do you have the ability to zoom on that? Looking towards kind of where those two islands are.
I'm not sure on that.
You see what I'm saying? Because at one point, we were trying to only go 2 feet in from where it was, but my understanding from the last discussion, we were going almost 5 feet in some spots. But we were thinking of reducing the terrace to make that up. So I'm just wondering what I'm looking at here on that, because that I think is a big concern for people. Sure.
So what are you showing on the cross sections? The next. Go to your next slide. Next page or whatever.
It's not a pretty dimension like you would have it on the plan.
Michael, I'm speaking, right? That's what.
So the west curb. The curb on the west side of the street, the creek side of the street,
Yeah.
just so we're all on the same side. You wanna know which way that curb moved?
Well,
It's actually moving east, according to this, about 7-8 feet.
Yeah, the west curb is moving east about 8 feet, because on that first section, it's a 40-foot wide road, we're switching it to 30 feet, or 32 feet from curb face to curb face. Then you're adding in an 8-foot or a 4-foot terrace and an 8-foot path. So you add all that up, you have 32 plus 12, you get to 44 total feet on top of a road that's now 40 feet. So the path is going to be 4 feet further into their yards.
closer toward the house.
And that's with a 4 foot
4
terrace.
foot terrace, yes,
So
because, yeah,
one of the comments were to put it right along the curb, that would reduce it, then it would be all in the current roadway, that is.
it
correct.
would be if you remove, at least for that section, when you get down.
There is a narrower section, so.
Yeah,
It would get close.
north of Venice, that road is only 36 feet there, so you're still gonna lose 4. Even putting it on, you still need 4 feet, because it's 40 feet down there, it's 36.
But that would be
Those are all
to the
backyards.
backyard.
Those are all backyards.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
park, right?
They are, and even, yeah, they are, but even on that section though, that one north of Venice, it looks like it's. The easterly curve has been shifted some easter, like to the eastern direction, maybe the road's gone up a little bit.
And that was all in an effort to address the retaining. wall.
Right, because if I didn't do that, the stuff on the western side, though, some of those yards come out sloping pretty significantly, so you had to move it out.
That's why at one point we talked about having the path on the.
Right, on the other
Yeah,
side.
being one being-
So just one more question, if people don't mind. So what is the difference in cost from the 8 foot path versus the sidewalk? And I know you're probably spitballing it, but
What did you figure roughly that, I mean? Are you talking just staying on the west side?
yeah, stay, everything just, I'm just looking because that was brought up again, so I'm just curious on the cost. That's 8 foot. If we went to a standard sidewalk's 4 feet, 5, so you would pick up 3 feet.
you definitely do, and then you would only be encroaching 1 foot.
That's what, I'm just trying to figure out the option.
And even if,
Until you actually have bid numbers, you don't know for sure,
Yeah,
but concrete sidewalk is gonna be slightly more expensive, probably. Probably $1 a square foot or less.
but we're losing 3 feet though, if we go to 5 from an 8, so.
So the reason why we went to the 8 foot was because it was public maintained, trying to.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, that was one of the advantages.
Well, that was. I didn't know that that wasn't talked about at the, because when we talked about the 8 foot path, we had said, or someone had said in that meeting. Oh, the residents there would prefer not to shovel the sidewalk, but
That's true, and I mean, we heard,
we heard, yes.
Yeah,
no,
today that-
yes, I'm a little concerned because what you just said at the top of this was that. That wasn't presented to the community feedback session, so where we're, I mean.
well, no, here's the thing, just so you know, the feedback had the path on the east side.
Okay,
Because that's where originally we
yes,
thought.
I remember
But
that. Yep.
because of all the retaining walls and the discussion here with safety and
Okay,
parking,
that's the difference.
we jumped it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's why you have discussions and you throw ideas out there. I thought I was all going into that meeting thinking it was gonna be on the east and supporting that, but everybody made some really good comments that it made sense to make it. So now the question is it still, because what's different is we're digging in a little bit farther. Before they were gonna try to balance it, if I remember, 2.5. Now it's kind of going one side.
Yep.
So I'm trying to figure out, would it be fair to go to a sidewalk?
To keep some length.
Yeah,
Yep. I'm following now. That's what it is.
And even if you go from a 4 foot terrace to a 3 foot terrace, you get that extra foot back, you can almost put it. It goes completely in the footprint, at least down here at the end.
And so my understanding is that County P did something very similar, is that the terrace, excuse me, that path went up against the curb. So that
Sidewalk.
sidewalk next to it.
yeah, but
We need to, I just do the wastewater, not the municipal side.
I mean, I don't think that's a good plan, because then we have to remove the snow, so you want somewhat of a terrace.
So that, yeah, there's sidewalks, or there's mailboxes, there's snow concerns, but
Yeah,
it's been done before, so.
it has been done, it's not by the.
Doug, what do you think?
Well, I remember the reasons we moved it. I'm open to. I'm open to a sidewalk or a path. The concern was clearing the snow and things. like
Right,
that,
yeah.
so.
Andy?
I think that the path is better, if we're gonna be taking a little bit of the frontage, at least then we'll be cleaning what we're taking. And so I think that's, you know, a decent trade-off, and also it just gives all the homes on that particular stretch access to what potentially would be the future path of the village, which I think is really beneficial to them. In the long run, so I'm in support of that the way it is.
Cody?
He said what I was thinking.
All right, just to make sure everybody fully understands, we're not condemning or taking any properties.
It's all
It's
right.
all in it, within the existing right of way. So it's. Property owners may feel they're losing green space, but they're definitely not losing property.
Right,
Yeah.
no, that is correct, but we all sneak into the right of way with gardens and bushes and trees.
Oh, I know you do.
Michael?
I have a question. Could you go to the cross section, the first page, like the page just beneath this one? There. So, yeah, if you go up and you look at the roadway cross section. Up there, the top middle. Is this roadway such that it's obviously the curb on the right is higher than the curb on the left, so you have a piece of road that's there and then a long slope coming all the way down, is that correct, what that's showing? How that road's gonna be designed?
It's an offset center line, yeah.
Okay,
We had to do that on Bourbon Road as well, starting by, Bainan's shop and going along the end of the block, clear down the railroad tracks. It's trying to deal with the terrain on both sides. In this case, we're also trying to work with those driveways that are quite steep. And
So
you
you're
offset the crown of the street. You basically have one driving lane, which in this case would be northbound. On that one side, and then on the southbound side, you'd have a driving lane and parking. Which is what you're seeing there.
so parking lane is on the west side there, or the east side?
It's on the Kirk side.
Oh, the parking lane is on the creek side, is how you do this. Oh, the parking lane, yeah, the parking. Yeah, I mean, it's only really like a foot, but on the drawing, it looks, you know,
Yeah,
I mean.
that's
it looks-
because of the dimensions used for cross sections.
Right.
Vertical and horizontal look very skewed. Correct.
Right,
Each grid going vertically is 2 feet, each grid going horizontal is 10, so
right,
it's skewed big time,
right.
imperceivable to riders.
And so then. I'm not sure of, if you go with the path. And you've gone down Brewery Street, I did get a fair amount of feedback in terms of loss of trees and landscaping, and you know which thing would be removed with a 4-foot cut. Like into the currently existing yard, what I mean.
We will know, so the big question here is if this alignment stayed, if you wanted to go. So that it's equal share of right of way usage on either side, because it triggers the retaining wall thing. So I can't definitively answer what needs to go and what doesn't until this gets. We decide if we want this, where we want the center line essentially.
They have all the topo info. It hasn't been incorporated into the plans yet because they're waiting for somebody to say, this is what we're gonna go with. Because we're only gonna pay for one set of plans, play for 3. So once you make a decision on what you want us to build, they'll be able to incorporate the topo survey, which will have every tree, every shrub, every mailbox, all of those items on it. And then we'll be able to have a look at it. Just glancing at this aerial, doesn't look like there's a lot. See one down on the end towards J there that looks like it might get some root damage.
What about the ones that are on the north end of Brewery, because those yards kind of slope out?
That's
There's a
different.
lot of,
That's a different ballgame up there.
right, I mean, there's a lot of.
There are quite a few of them are actually rooted in the right of way. That's, oh yeah, I know, that's what we're trying to figure out, like what was. Happening down at that end, because if you're moving it over and you're going to use retaining wall, then are you gonna be looking to go in to take all that out, because you have to re-plateau that drop? You know, like, is it gonna be a lot of earth moving up on
I can't tell you what the amount of back slope would have to be just yet, but, we would definitely work to minimize it.
Yeah, the goal is certainly to minimize it. The rule of thumb is 4 to 5 feet off of the disturbed area would be potentially damaged.
4 to 5 feet from like the edge of the path would be, so a
Back
tree
slope
that's,
area.
so a foot, so a tree that's a foot off the edge of the path right now would be.
Not gonna be in good shape.
Okay, even if it's left, it would probably die, is what you're saying. Okay. Well, yeah, because, well, right now with that. There are numerous trees that would, like pretty much every single tree in the front yards on the route would be gone, because they're all about 4 feet off the road right now, like 4 to 5 and 6.
I wouldn't say that many.
I mean, I'm all into preserving vegetation and trees. I live on the other side of the creek and have experienced 3 now extreme weather events that have ripped trees and hit houses and including ones on the front of the brewery that have now gone through 2 floods. So I would question where those trees' health is currently before we go into this project, just based on what they've experienced in the last 5 years.
And for me, I think it was sound decision-making at the last meeting to move it to the west side, and I'm still in favor of everything. The only thing that has changed for me is, from the last meeting, is we were gonna try to balance it, and now the west side people were moving more into the right of way than we did before. So I'm still want it there. I'm just still now wondering if the path versus the sidewalk, that's just where I'm coming, that's where my sticking point is. I think the design and everything, I would move the traffic calming off the intersection into the middle here, but that's something we can.
We'll work through all that.
Yeah, but the big question, unless, let me just kind of look at people, are most people still in favor of the sidewalk or the path being on the west side? Is there anybody that thinks we should move it back to the east side?
That's where you see everybody.
Yeah,
I drive there every single day, twice a day.
so I think we're there. So the big question is, what do we want to do? Do we shade the terrace to 3 feet to give us an extra foot? Or do we go to a sidewalk with 3 foot, which would pretty much, as Michael said, put us right in the current roadway already, so there's very little disturbance in the lower part. The upper part, there'll be some, but a lot less. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm.
That's the question, yeah, right there.
I think if we can do both, but I think one is trying to maximize the ability of this street to handle the next flood or the next inclement weather event, because for whatever reason, that is the hotspot for these things happening geographically across Plains. So if we can mitigate the impacts that people are feeling with whatever space that they have, but instilling that the engineering sound and it's going to be environmentally good for the village. That's I think paramount number one. The space would be number 2 for me.
Go to what you,
From a public works standpoint, for maintaining, like, if it's 8 foot, village is responsible to maintain it. If you move it to 5 foot, then we are not.
The sidewalk.
Yeah, the sidewalk.
Unless the sidewalk is abutting the back of the curb. Those are the.
Okay. And the mailboxes are still gonna remain on that side of the street.
that's the US Postal Service. They're their own animal. They do what they want. We'll see what happens. It wouldn't surprise me if they put
We made this,
unit boxes there.
we made this decision to go with this route in the matter of public safety and accessibility in the village. And I'm gonna stick with the decision we made.
The path you're saying.
Yeah, I feel it's unfortunate to a dozen homeowners, but at the same time, we made the decision with the right reasons.
Okay. Anybody else wanna, Cameron?
Since we moved the path from the one side to the other side, is there an easy way to solicit feedback from the impacted houses?
I think he's done leafleting at least 3 times, and the problem is we're getting tight. We've got to let these guys move ahead, so we've got to kind of make the call. I mean, we made this call last meeting and he leaflet everybody, so everybody was aware of it. So they could come here and speak on it or send an email. I think we've done a really good job on the notification part of this. It's just a matter of making the hard decision.
Can I summarize the options then? And
Sure.
you make sure I'm correct. Path, which we then keep the snow off of, and then the residents don't have to, but we'll cut into more of the right of way. Sidewalk, which we will not maintain, and residents will have to shovel, but they'll keep more of their green space in the right of way. And then the third option is to cut back the grass between the road and the path or sidewalk, well, the path, to also reduce that same amount of space,
It wouldn't be the same amount.
but to reduce, there is more space.
Yeah, you get probably a foot.
So then you get a path, but you get an additional foot of green space in your right of way.
Right.
Well, no, not really. Yes,
Yeah, you did.
but instead of being on one side of the path, it's on the other side. So I don't know if you gain, I wouldn't call that a gain.
Oh, you said, okay. now-
Yeah, the terrace would go from 4 feet to 3 feet, so there'd be one more foot. Yeah, I still, yeah,
You nailed them all. The fourth one is if the retaining walls are on the table, that center line moves east of
no.
your road.
I don't want nothing to do with it.
You also get the thawing and the freezing that we brought up.
Oh,
I'm certainly not advocating, I'm just giving you all of the
we'd be
options.
fixing them every spring and trucks would hit them. It's just, and it's more costly.
So if we go to
All, yes.
3 feet, that still leaves room for mailboxes and stuff, right?
Yeah, at least
Yeah.
room for mailboxes, it does make snow storage tight, but. I mean, it's doable. But yes, you won't have the situation that we have up on Church Street with some of the mailboxes there.
Yeah, okay.
Judy, what are you thinking? Yeah.
I just don't want the meeting, that's my big.
Yeah. Michael, what's your thought? You've been with more contact with everybody. What's your thought on this?
It's. Depending on who you speak to, depends on whether or not you get, I want to shovel or I don't, and some people don't, but then when they see the alternative with. The front of their yard essentially becoming shorter, then they sometimes change their mind. So my thoughts, just brainstorming is. Feeling like. See, it's feeling I like the sidewalk because it restores more of the front yard, even, and then even with the terrace reduction of a foot, in certain areas, you put it right on top of the same footprint. Keeping the center line as where the road is now, if the sidewalk went the whole way down, then north of Hillside there, you're putting a sidewalk in the back of people's backyards, which we kind of decided was a no-no. We didn't really like doing that. So the fix for that is you put the sidewalk right next to the curb and the village has to clean that section, whereas the rest of the road, everybody has to clear their own. If you go to a 5-foot sidewalk up on that end. I'm brainstorming, I'm throwing out, because then those people don't have to maintain up there, it's in their backyards, which with the path, they don't have to either. But then on the longer stretch of brewery, you have the sidewalk. Which then provides more green space in the front there. It's kind of,
Judy?
I thought of something, you guys voted and I was a no vote, that, if someone has a sidewalk though and something goes wrong, they have to pay for fixing it.
This is asphalt.
No, but if we go to a
We
sidewalk,
haven't,
if we go to sidewalk,
Yes.
they all need to know, if we go to a sidewalk and something goes wrong, it's up to them to have to pay.
no, quite frankly, it's 50.
Well, 50,
50%.
but, yeah,
Yeah,
but that,
40
that
years,
should
yeah.
be, but we have to tell them that. We have to be upfront with them and say, if something happens to your sidewalk, you're responsible to pay for it, 50%.
is if it's a path, they aren't held to the 50/50.
No,
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 then it's us,
no, we just did sidewalks, paths.
so, right? So
If
that
we
will change
maintain
their
it.
mind if they want a sidewalk.
It seems like the way to go. I'd like to make a motion to approve as presented.
Second,
All right, I have a motion to approve the pathway on the west side of the road as presented in the area photo, whatever we call that. We gotta be very clear so we all know. what we're- All right. As presented, you'll somehow get this.
Yep,
that
I'll
this
get
is
that
going
back
on.
to
All
Brian.
right.
Page 32
No
of
problem.
the packet.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Yep.
And page 32 back.
Thank you. All right, discussion, the only thing, go ahead, Cameron.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think I'm. The only thing, I could go either way, is if we do a foot less on the, between the road and the back. The terrace, thank you, that's the word. I don't have a strong opinion there, but if we wanted to do that.
All right, let me ask the people who motioned it, we'll have to do, well, let's just do, do you want?
I'm just adding it to the discussion, that's all I'm doing, like, do we?
Oh, okay.
Do we want to discuss
Okay.
amending the motion to do that?
this is more so for the engineer. If we were to throw that in there, is that a separate cost for drawing up more plans with 3 feet versus 4 feet?
No, where you're at today is, we got, and that's what's next. It's preliminary design. This is the intention is to not go down a rabbit hole and get to 90% and then find out that you want a 3-foot terrace.
All right. So what are people's thought of reducing the terrace by a foot from what was proposed? I just want a straw vote, we'll have to do an amendment.
I'm
but
fine with it.
I'm
Public works.
And what is the engineering impact, like, what does that mean? Is there no impact? Is there?
The only real impact is snow storage.
So we just have less of that. Okay.
So it'd be a lot.
I wouldn't be opposed to going to 3 foot.
But that's as small as you'd like to go.
Yeah, we don't really want to go any smaller than that.
I mean,
All right, well, do you want to make a motion? I'll amend the motion with amending it to a 3-foot terrace, because it's proposed as a 4.
I can do that. I'd like to amend the motion to reduce the terrace by 1 foot on page 32 of the packet.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion.
And I thought earlier somebody said that then that moves the shared space or the right of way to the other side of the path. Did I-
No, it just gives them 1 more foot of their.
On the west side.
Just pushes it.
Okay. Okay.
They retain a foot of green space on the house side of the path.
they're just gonna give more long snow. Yeah,
Right.
well, it's the same amount, it's either 4 feet on the one side or it's put on the other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, so it moves. So the original motion now has been modified from 4 feet to 3 feet. All right, any other discussion on the original one? The only thing is I'd like to have a discussion on traffic calming, even there's one on there, but we will pass it as is and then modify.
Alright,
So,
so you're gonna talk about, because he's as presented, those are on there, those, we're gonna have a separate discussion.
yeah, we're gonna do it separate.
He had said that can be changed.
Not,
Right.
That was just
none of
a
that.
concept.
So
But
let
the
the,
motion was.
But the layout of it is what they're gonna draw.
if you look, I actually named the path on the west side.
Okay,
So,
Lane
yeah,
down the trail.
yeah. All right,
well,
let's just do a roll call vote and then,
I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna be in favor, I think the path is too wide.
Okay.
5 foot sidewalk.
all right, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Paul Mikowski,
No,
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
trustee Borland,
Yes.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Bratton,
Yes,
trustee Cavalier.
Yes,
President Lightfoot.
Yes, okay, so then let's talk, now how detailed do we have to get with the traffic calming? For you to do your engineering?
I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I'd love to just defer to Brian. Because
It's really not needed yet at this
it's,
point.
Okay, as long as,
like the superficial stuff on top,
Yeah.
except for the thing that happens down at the end of Laufenberg, there's a bump out on that.
also meant to, in all conceptual measures to reduce speeds.
He just
Those are-
basically picked those spots to show something on there. We don't know where they're gonna fit the best from an engineering standpoint yet.
So then those decisions will be coming back to us, whether or not.
Let's give them some direction. Okay, I Hirsch, I'm with you. The bump, the having the islands at where a stop sign is. I don't think is really helping anything. The stop sign should slow traffic down. I think that traffic calming should be between Finnis and Valley Street. So you block that straight, long vision. That's what we want to do. So it should be somewhere in there. Yeah,
No, you mean there.
He said Tennessee.
You said that is the valley.
Yeah.
Thinking on that long spread.
that long, yeah.
I'm saying.
And then he's saying from Finnis to Laufenburg, you put another one.
Yeah, okay,
I would agree with that. I think we need one on that side too.
I'm gonna say we're moving the road, we're shrinking the road by 8 feet in multiple places, which is gonna slow people down considerably. In my opinion, is that if you start putting islands in the middle of it, people are gonna start hitting them, you're gonna start destroying snow plows. They just cause issues and problems and all kinds of
Well, I'm,
obstructions.
Michael, I'm gonna kind of disagree with you. Being in Madison, we have a lot of narrow streets, like in the Williamson Street area and over by East High and Latham. Cars, it's dangerous when they fly. That's where they're putting all these traffic things in. It's study after study has shown, the farther you can see down the road, the faster people are going. The narrowness of the street plays some role, but I'm telling you, you're not gonna see a change in traffic from Valley to Finnis without putting something there to block the view. I'm just telling you, there's studies after studies on that. So, but we can bring it, they're gonna bring it back and you certainly
It will not
can.
be the last time you guys see this.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
is surface features at the top that we can add now that we know. What we're doing with the layout, so we can implement the stormwater, the drainage, the inlets, see where these make sense. Your bump outs, things like that.
We're gonna wanna know where things like manholes, mailboxes end up, and try and avoid putting the traffic calming things
Right,
on those.
right, absolutely.
And then with this being done, that. I forgot what you called it, but where trees would be removed or landscaping that would be able to be incorporated, because you're gonna have it more of a design now, or the, like what you said.
We'll be able to identify any of the problem areas, notifications will be made well in advance of construction. And specifically mailboxes, people have recorded stuff around a mailbox, that'll notice to be given long before a bulldozer shows up that you want that, now's the time to get it out of there. To clarify, that the contractor moves the mailboxes, that'll be taken care of, but if there's landscape features in the right of way, that would be.
Somebody with wildflowers in their front yard or something.
Yeah, came up today, the native plantings, those will be addressed. Now that we know the layout, we'll get the plans put together, and if we're shooting for being out for bids in January. We'll know well in advance when the contractor would mobilize and be disturbing anything.
So do you just need kind of general idea of where to put the traffic calming measures? Is it like, do we even need a motion or anything?
No,
Say,
no,
okay,
no.
yeah,
The concerns are noted.
okay, so
You
you're
will
good with
address
it?
those, you guys will see plans as they develop.
No, I am ready to move on to number 5 if everybody else. So discussion and possible action, consideration of final design engineering proposal for a brewery. road.
This is 42 for you, Brian. Page 42, that is. The original task order that Brian came to with for redesign was at 46,000. It's in the center, 3A. The amended amounts, which would be the final design, and we know the layout. And then construction bidding and construction observation would be in that amended amount of 190,000. So we would need action on this, and this then following tonight, Brian will need a signature to get this to DNR for all requirements of the DNR.
This gets us to Edgeville?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is everything.
Yep, this is-
Like forward.
From here until the last blade of grass roots.
All right, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the final design engineering proposal for Brewery Road. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, discussion and possible action regarding contractors' application for payment number 2 for 2022 water system improvements.
Okay, so I'm on page 44 now. This should look similar to what we looked at last month. But now that we only have a month's worth of work, the application amount goes down. So Fortson's been plugging away on masonry and trusses at both well houses, if you've been able to go by. Mason's tenting everything because of the temps at night, but everything's going quite well with the goal of hopefully having those enclosed, obviously before it's substantial snow flies. So in the last 30 days or so, Fortson was requesting $192,593 after we hold back the retainage that will hold until the end of the project.
You got a motion, right, on this already? Oh, no? Okay. All right, can I have a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the contract application for payment number 2.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, we move number 16 is the next item, discussion and possible action. Possible indoor baseball / wellness center facility at 3000 Evergreen Parkway. Jim, do you want to come up and? Yeah, I guess I would like Jim to start and just really what he's looking for from the board tonight. Right, you want you have a seat, have a.
Getting a
A hot seat.
All right, we want to talk about a facility. What I'm looking for from the board tonight is an okay to keep it, to move it in the direction for being able to do it. I think it is a very valuable thing for the village. I think it can help overall with many things. I mean, it does have a wellness center. It does have a walking track. I don't know how many people walk in here, but I know some of you do, and I know that walking outside in the winter sucks. So it's something that could be very valuable for people. And obviously, it does have a baseball facility in it, or some ability to play baseball in it, let's put it that way. We do have extra drawings and stuff to look at, but I think the bottom line to it is would be something very, very good for the community. And what I have been doing is actually going out and visiting with the business people of Cross Plains. And I've got probably 25 of them that I've visited already, and probably got another 15 or so to go. And, you know, I would say that the overall thinking from those people is very positive. I think they all can understand that having a place to actually do something in Cross Plains instead of having to go to Middleton all the time would be something that could be very valuable to us. And, you know, at this point, you know, we don't have by any means everything worked out, but if we can raise the money, you know, from a business standpoint, and, you know, the village, I've had some discussions with them and they said that they would help us with the land. And I think that in the long run, again, it's a good project for the entire community. And obviously, being a baseball facility, you can say, well, that's all that's there, but honestly, you can play lacrosse in there. I mean, you can play football in there. You'd be able to play golf, you could do pickleball in there, tennis. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities in that space because it's a wide open space in the middle of the building. We, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, again, thinking long term, but, you know, maybe it's a card system to get into it, so we could use the building beyond working hours probably. So that we don't have to have somebody there all the time, and obviously we have cameras on the inside to help us in case we would have any kind of issue. You know, I'd really like it to be something that could be very, very valuable. And, you know, obviously we could also have events in there at some point. You could use it for meetings, you could use it for any kind of event. Whether you get the village together, who knows? All things that are good for community gathering. Questions?
Yes, why don't you are you looking at any public funding to build this building, this project?
Nope. We are looking to raise the funds, and I've made it very, very clear in talking with the business people that this has to be something that they really think would be worth it and would support it. Obviously with the money to build it. And if it comes to the point where we don't raise enough money for it to go, we would not build it.
Thank you. Doug?
Can I ask Mike to ask some?
Yeah, I'm gonna, I just, yeah, he'll come up.
Okay, you wanna wait?
Or, did anybody, I guess I'm trying to, does anybody have any questions for Jim?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thanks for being here. And thanks for the offer to help build something awesome for Cross Point. I appreciate that. I'm just curious if you'd be interested in any funding from the village that we could offer, and B, what sort of oversight would you be willing to tolerate if you're raising the funds and not receiving any from the village? As far as design.
Well, personally, we've been kind of working with the village to look at the design, and you know, I don't think that I want it to be something that is just my design and my design only. I think that would work out nice. Obviously, you know, it would be nice to have the village contribute, but I think contributing the land is a very, very good start.
What is the total cost?
Well, you know, inflation is tough. I'd like to say that, I mean, we originally talked about raising $2.5 million to get it started. I'm hoping that'll be close, but just, I mean, the way things are going right now, I don't know that I can tell you if it's getting any better. I can't tell you, I'm not a contractor by any means. I can't tell you how the contracting things are being affected out there, but I'm sure they are.
It's not going down. Thank you.
There was an online question just asking how public funding to sustain the project going forward would be treated.
Well, you know, obviously at this point, I can't know exactly what the costs are gonna be going forward, but we've kind of put some numbers together. Thinking we're right around $40,000 a year to maintain the property. Is my anticipation, and I think that if we, you know, they always say if you build it, they will come, but I think we can do much better than $40,000 a year in revenues from this building to, so that there actually wouldn't be a taxpayer out of pocket.
I would ask that question would be more answered by Mike. Okay. So I guess what we're looking at, he's the lead in the fundraising, and it's, so if it's related to that, and then we'll have Mike come up and talk about more how he sees it operating within his department.
I couldn't agree more.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Mike, oh, yeah, go ahead.
I have just a few questions, just real quick, because looking at here, I don't know, okay, inside there you have a wellness center. What is a wellness?
Well, that will be, something that, I mean, I'm sure it includes weights. Probably includes some machines. Maybe rowing machines could be, other things, but rowing machines come to mind because they're easier to work and less people to worry about getting hurt on. But now currently, I think we have about 3,000, 4,000 square feet for a wellness center. You can put quite a few things in.
Absolutely. I didn't know it was like gym equipment. Thank you for.
Again, if you look at the plan, and it's pretty difficult to see up there, but there are locker rooms in there, there's a small kitchen in there. The day camp is in there.
What is that?
Yeah, I think that's a little more for my.
Again, that's something that Mike had in it initially. I mean, again, this is our plan, but, it's been looked at by Mike and, he's kind of been the one to say, hey, this would work for us. So we'll let him get to the rest of it.
Can I ask you one other question, since, you know how it's, okay, so here, when you have the turf field and the pitching lanes, like I sort of see it's like set up like a pitching thing, like bases, like you had talked about like lacrosse. My question is, how flexible is the space? Like, are these bases or the pitching lanes, or are those equipment like in the ground, like, or is that flexible to where those can be removed and it turns into a
It's
larger?
all turf.
So then this,
It's
so
flat,
that's
flat turf, so it can be used for soccer, like football, lacrosse.
So there aren't things
Yeah.
being like baseball things or any specific sport things being built onto the floor of the turf area. It's very flexible.
Very flexible.
That was my question, is how
Yeah,
flexible the space
I mean,
is.
yes, for baseball, there'd be bases in there, but those would be easily removable, and there is a storage area that would keep all that stuff.
Absolutely. And that whole yellow space could be turned into a large area. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
big-
That is a big one.
Okay, that's what I meant. Like, I wasn't sure if there was a wall there for the pitching things or.
No, it's just, those are all screens,
Yeah, okay, I think they can like go up and down or what have you, or.
I mean, it would be screened so that nobody's gonna throw a ball and hit the guy in the next area.
Absolutely. Okay,
And then it could be used for screens for batting practice too.
right.
Andy?
One of the pieces of feedback that I have been receiving from people in the village are essentially, well, what is the? This is being built for baseball, clearly. What would your response be to that concern that village residents have? Is that this is a baseball facility for baseball players and people who play baseball. This is not a village resource. That's what I am trying to get answers to for people.
Again, I think we're trying to make it so that it's universal, can be used for anything. I mean, granted, it is built for baseball. Why? Because I've coached baseball in this town for 40 years, and I believe that it's something that would, again, when you go around and you can see the other communities, when I started in this back in '83 or whatever it was, all of the communities were the same. Now you go to the communities and you go to Sauk and they're building a $35 million facility up there. You go to Oregon, they've just put in a whole bunch of new properties. You go to Verona, they've got all new stuff. You go to DeForest, they've got all new stuff. And we've had a very, very competitive program here. Most people probably don't know it, but in 2010, we actually went to the World Series for our 16 to 18-year-old baseball. And that was 17 out of the 18 kids on that team right here from Cross Plains. So, we have a very good program. We've had a very good program, and, I'd like to say that I'd like to see something where I'm giving into the future. That there's something that I can give back. I mean, I've been in business in town here for 30 years, and I feel like I owe some of the people who've been very, very good to me over the years. And I think that this is a good way to do it. And I just hope like heck, all of the other businesses in town think the same way.
Thank you, Jim. Oh, you have a question for Jim or Mike?
No, I was just responding, Andy, I think one of the big things is how he has said before, it's so universal. We do think it's for baseball and it is, but it's also very universal, which I think is a huge, huge,
Yeah, the more activities you can do in a big space, we have a need for national, the community building. Some, that turf is very friendly. Volleyball, lots of stuff.
All right, Mike, why don't you come on up?
All right, well, I think the big thing's already been touched on, also one of your questions, obviously, being universal. I think as you know, within our department, we offer a large array of programming for our community. One area that we struggle to offer programming is during winter months. It's always been a problem. Back in 2012, there was a group in this community that came together and formed a foundation called the Life Foundation. That foundation had a lot of different goals and objectives. So obviously residents in our village and myself have been part of this. To provide one of the main goals and objectives was to provide an indoor space for our community to use in a safe manner that was intergenerational and allow for them to feel safe, and be able to work out, be able to walk, be able to come together. That foundation was very close in providing this service already for the village. And then had the computer or had the plug pulled from them, kind of last minute. What has happened is they've more or less taken that plan from the foundation and also from the village is what you authorized actually as a board in 2021 to go out for grants for. So they've more or less taken that plan, condensed it a little bit, changed it a little bit, and then brought it to you. From our standpoint, I do have a business plan put together for this. It is not out to the community or to any of you yet. There's a lot of questions that I have to be able to answer as well. And I'm not really able to do that with all of you and or the community around with the project. So that's where we're at, and we're asking for them to come forward and give this overview of the project.
Let me ask you, what do you think, being in our rec and you're familiar with the forest, that facility out there? Do you think if the cost of overhead is 40,000, how much of that do you think you could bring in on revenue from programming, renting the facility out,
So
memberships,
yeah.
or
on a so what I tried to do is use our community, which is a very active community. And if you look at the demographics, it's very close to a lot of other counties. Mainly Wanakee is what the one that I tried to look at. Wanakee does have a community center already. Wanakee population census was like 13,000 people, where we're at 4,000. So what I try to do is take a percentage of what their budget, revenue versus their budget versus expenses. We took it to the 31 percentile of where we are at. Within that, if you don't count our current full-time staff overhead, within that, we wouldn't only break even, we were projected to make money on a facility like this. Now, there are things that I'm sure I'm not thinking of that, that may come into account for, but I do not see a facility like this increasing the operating budget of the Parks and Recreation Department as planned. Do you think it's likely that the school district might also throw some dollars to get access to that facility?
What was the question?
he's asking if the school district might want to put some funding into it because it's so close to where they are, that they're cramped for space.
Yeah, possibly. I can't say. I could see the high school group or others wanting to use it in the winter. The rental aspect of it, I absolutely could see. Yeah, I guess that's more of that. Yeah. I don't know about upfront.
Cameron?
So I have fielded quite the flurry of messages and emails and calls this past weekend on this, as my house in particular is on a lot of the diagrams. I think what I'm hearing, if I try to kind of condense it, is I I think people are looking at this and they're assuming it's like, for sure, like this is the plan. And there's been a lot of things that haven't been considered. And so I guess my question is, like, if we were to say, yes, we want to move forward with this, like, what are the next steps? So the community knows that concerns are being looked at by the Parks Committee, by the Planning Committee. You know, I've heard everything from like light pollution, like, I can say even my house, like the baseball lights at Fair Park, are really bright. Like, what are parking lot lights closer gonna look like? The cross-country team uses this area at the school, like, there's paths and stuff, but are they gonna be able to continue to do so? And then there's a pool committee currently trying to figure out what a pool needs to be. So the other concern I've heard is that jumping to something like this would force some pool decisions that haven't been made. If they decide they need 8 lanes and all of a sudden go, oh, we don't have the space because this is the thing. Those are all kind of, I've heard a lot of stuff, and I guess how do we get from where we are now to more concrete plans and community input so these things can kind of be addressed?
I think first, like, good questions. I think first of all, this is great that it happened, right? Because it actually brought people out and got people to discuss it. I think that's always the first starting point, right? There are a lot of things within people's questions that I couldn't answer right away, right? So I think that's good, getting them out on paper. I think having community vision sessions to date is really important as well. Even though it's a private fundraise, group or private fundraise project, it's actually a public-private partnership, right? So the community in general should be well involved in this project. From the starting point of what you're talking about, light pollution and all these other things. I think there'll also obviously be the plan commission and other, those decisions that will be made within the plan development of this project. As you look at so in 20, I know I have this in my memo, but in 2016, I believe it was, the village board authorized our administrator to put together some options, some plans, and I believe it was your neighbors in the neighborhood. They were really upset because that plan hasn't come to fruition. This is all a part of that plan, right? This is on a different scale or a different level of that, but it allows for when the village went out to understand how many acres we needed for those types of issues or those types of facilities or improvements. They did it by, okay, there's 40 acres within the Beekner site, right? If we wanted to add 2 ball diamonds, and we went through our Parks and Open Space plan to see what we needed, we needed a village hall, we needed a police station, and we needed a community center. How many acres do we need for that? And so that's how they came up with the 16.6 acres. I think it was a total, and then 0.4 was donated, but that's how we came up with that measurement. So obviously there would still be a lot of engineering and site planning needed to be done within this project. Sam, from 1848 would obviously be involved in that to help, but the major thing I think they're asking me tonight is just, are you on board? But I think the next steps for this would be to enter into some type of MOU with CP Baseball and the village that kind of lays out all these things and lays out what the village's requirements will be, obviously to provide land, and then what the CP Baseball's responsibilities would be to move forward on this project.
To be clear, what the neighbors got upset about, the cease and desist that went to Meridian did not have a building. So that's
Did not have what?
a building. So that's the big difference. It had,
Oh, I had the pool.
it had,
It had
no,
boxes,
I
right?
think it just had the baseball fields.
No. It had village hall, police station, and pool.
No,
The one that we pulled off.
no.
I'm pretty sure it had a box that said community center. I'm almost positive.
Jed already left. He would have it, so I can ask Jed for it. But just to be like I just want to be clear, like you made a comment about, oh, everyone complained that the stuff wasn't there. The stuff that was in that picture that everyone was bought the house on is not the stuff that's in this picture. So I just want to be super clear that like they're not.
Meridian, not us.
Correct. We know that. It came from Meridian.
I don't know that that's just should be left like that. Meridian's drawing, and we had a very big discussion about this last time. And there was an agreement that what was on Meridian's drawing with the baseball fields was were clearly set as future projects, not as drawn, not as done.
No, it said
But the building and the infrastructure was not part of that previous discussion. There is no way on all of these conversations we've had earlier about Evergreen Parkway being able to handle this traffic without affecting our neighborhood. There's just no way unless you change the road structure. We sit there in there every single day for a minimum of 40 minutes a day. On top of that, when the 5K run comes on Saturday, when that starts to when it finishes, our whole neighborhood is shut down. Okay, so that's just a couple of incidents. So I'm all in favor as a resident in that hood of figuring out how we can have a community. But the location of this building and potential car parking cannot support current infrastructure. And you're admitting that by we can't even get a crossing guard.
Well, I apologize if it wasn't, I thought that was it. I don't remember any other ones, so I apologize. But either way, it's the facilities and improvements.
Doug,
I'll make a couple comments. The first one is I want to thank Jim for putting it together. He's working to invest $2.5 million of private money in public-private partnership. This is a need for our community, I believe. I believe the spot is right, and I do believe that we need to look at traffic considerations around the school, which was already talked about, but to me, there needs to be an outlet east of Glacier Creek. And I've known Jim for a long time, so I know he'll do good work. I think Mike is underestimating the revenue. I think this will not cost taxpayers a dime. In fact, I think it will bring people to our community in a responsible and respectful way. And that is 16 some acres, and we're looking at 1 acre. Fits. I also think there's some need for some emergency center. When people can gather and benefit something bad on that side of town as well. So I think it could be more of a kind of a win-win-win when someone's willing to do the planning work and come up with the money. I think we can all make it work.
all right, well, what's the next step you guys want?
Guys, say something.
Go ahead, Michael.
I'm just gonna thank you guys for coming and putting this together. It's like a great project. And I just want it done right and in consideration of the land use that's there. I have a pool subgroup, want to know where we want the pool, where we want the parking lot, where we want this going so that it all gels together. You kind of put us a little bit under again because we don't have those plans. And so it's kind of, I just don't want us to get, I hope you understand what I'm saying. It's like, you don't want something to be rushed and then it's like, oh man, we should have put the parking lot on the other side so that the pool could use it or something like along those lines. Like it needs to, we need to come up with a plan for this whole entire area, and because we've always just not had one. It's always been figure it out later, figure it out later.
Have a few.
Figure it out.
Yeah,
later.
we have plenty of.
But we've never like really.
Well,
And
here's,
that's the problem
That's the-
in my neighborhood is we have all the plans and there's the pictures and then there's the thing Brittany has and then now there's these pictures. And no one knows exactly what's coming. And I think that's the concern.
because here's the problem, you're trying to put. We put in a grant for a $15 million facility, who's gonna go and fundraise for that? So that's gonna be this project here, it's key on if they get the funding, right?
Yeah.
So how are you gonna plan something until you know what the funding is? And we don't know if the pool committee is gonna say this is the place for the pool or keep it at the existing place. I mean, you can't plan until you start getting things
No,
into place.
and-
So for me, what I think what this group would need is, are we willing to give land to this project? And then we wait and see, because Jim's made it very clear, if they don't raise the 2.5 million, the project's going away. Right? It's tied to the funding of it. So, and that's with a lot of these projects, it's all gonna be tied to funding, so why do we spend thousands of dollars in planning where this is gonna go before we even have the funding to put the building there? Because like I say, Mike is correct, we probably have 2-3 things that we have paid for, and the Life Foundation paid for it, that has just gone nowhere because I think it's backwards. First, you get the funding, Then you start the planning on how it looks, where it goes, how many parking, where the lights are, so there isn't light pollution, all of that, but why spend all the time and money doing that? If you don't have the funding? The next key to this step to me is, are they gonna be able to raise the funding to build it? And I think what Jim wants in his group is, well, I don't wanna go out and raise $2.5 million and then not have a place to put the building. So I think we have to be patient, and the question is there the support to use this land for this project, and then let them see if they can raise the money. And then if they raise the money, then we sit down and come up with all the planning and figure out how this is gonna fit. Because my understanding, even though there were ball diamonds drawn in and everything, they're looking at just that building and that parking lot. And if you look, it's only phase one, right? You're looking to build, not phase two. So I mean, we're no, this is a board discussion. We had public comment, so we can't. We got a lot on the agenda, so this is kind of where we got to put it in perspective of where we're at. And I don't disagree with any comment on what has to be done in the planning stages, but it's way too early to spend money and stuff on what kind of lights and this until we actually get the funding. Right.
I just wanna say one other thing too. What you see there, where it's placed right now, is just for your concept. So you can say, you see how much square footage you're going to need. That's just one idea, right? Like there's a lot more discussion going on that. Maybe we can come up with a way to, within this planning process, to change and allow for another access and exit, like it's kind of shown there. To help mitigate a lot of the issues that are happening already in Evergreen.
I think the parking lot going out into two places is good, and what would be nice is if that road came out of airport or fitness behind Glacier.
And if you look, our official map has that, but that is owned by the retirement group of PI. And maybe when this gets farther down, we can have a chat with PI and see if they would be willing to do something about that. I mean, go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything to hinder some fundraising for a project that could benefit the entire community. So I wish you good luck, and I'd like to have a conversation when we come back and see where we are with funding, if it's gonna move forward.
I do think, Jim, offering $2.5 million building, I think you should be confident that we have the 1.1 acre if he raises the money.
Judy?
I would agree on that, and I really want to thank him, because really raising money is not easy. So you're begging people, and if you can get $2.5 million as a gift, it's a gift. And it's huge for our community. I think this can bring people in, where I say we need to bring people into our community. I think this is huge. I think for all different things, like you say, pickleball or whatever it may be, it's huge and it's a gift. And I think we gotta appreciate it and we gotta thank them.
Cameron?
So to be clear, appreciate the work and the fundraising, and I'm not like opposed to it in general. It's, again, I think it's, you're right, like there's a chicken and egg problem here. Like if you can get the funding, then you should do the planning, or do the funding. I think a concern is that I have is that, let's say we raise the money, and you're right, it's a gift and that's great. But then when you get to the planning, your hands are gonna be tied. Like, what are you gonna actually change? Because it's a gift, right? Like,
It's to me, it's no different if a developer wanted to come in. When developers come in, we listen to their plan, we modify it and make sure it works well, right? And that's the same thing here. If it's where we don't get agreement, then it doesn't happen. It's not like, but right now, what I think Jim wants to know is, are we willing to do the 1.1 acres? And we're not saying what 1.1 acres, there's 16 acres there. So you have maybe 12 choices. Some of it is floodplain and environmental corridor, but it could be way up near the ski hill, for example. That shouldn't bother anybody. The sledding hill. I mean, there's just all kinds of spots. I think we're getting too tied in.
I mean, where it shows in that picture, sitting as an old building and trash, and I think the overflow for the parking at Bear Park is nice. For
Yeah.
events. And then the overflow parking is not in the neighborhood, so I like it closer to home.
So I just want to be clear, all they're asking for is. Do we have the village board's permission to go out and seek money with us saying you can have 1.1 acres of 16? We're not, this is not
Right.
final.
Correct.
It's like, we need the village board's okay, because if someone wants to give $500,000, but the village board isn't on board, do you think they're gonna give it?
Right, no,
I mean,
totally understand what you're coming from.
And-
I'm just trying to voice the concerns of everyone I've been talking to the past couple days. We've been very loud about seeing these, thinking they're finalized. Right, so I mean, there's also some, communication, us on the board, right, like. Anyway, again, I'm not opposed to this, I'm not trying to, I wanna make sure everyone is aware that there's a lot of people who saw this. And assumed that we were voting to like put this through to nothing.
Yeah, I could hear by the comments that it was unclear on where we were at this stuff. This has nothing to do, should have nothing to do with the pool, right? That's a whole different topic.
Well, it
Well,
does.
it does,
It
but
does.
when it doesn't go there, it's tied into
But-
it.
I understand.
but so hang on, Parks and Rec is also would be. Seeing this over as well as a future pool, right?
And
So I would think
there's a place for the pool, we could use the locker rooms that are already here, possibly.
could have.
I want like this happy.
So it has to start somewhere, and I think we should look at why, instead of why not to do things, what's the problem, let's look at what can we do and make it be a great facility for our community. It's a pretty impressive gift that can keep giving if we do the programming right.
And maybe they'll raise more money. Then.
Maybe they'll.
Be a joint effort eventually.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing, but, well, like I say, it's a lot of work and I appreciate Jim doing this, and I think the least we can do, so when he goes to raise money, he can say that the village is behind this project and has a spot for it.
Would you like a
Make a
motion?
motion, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think we should.
So I'll make the motion, to move forward with this concept with the idea of the Cross Plains baseball raising between 2 and 2.5 million, and the village then partnering with 1.1 acre of land.
All right, I have a motion and a second. I think that's pretty detailed. They could raise more and we'd be okay with it, right? All right, that's what I know. All right. All right, any other discussion?
The only thing I just want to reiterate is the traffic
Yes,
situation obviously is a concern, but I mean, honestly, let's be honest.
yes, I agree with you and we really have to deal with it. Because it's gonna be the next topic too. So you're right, absolutely right. That's something we can look at. All right, let's, any other discussion, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Brooklyn,
No.
trustee Brunner,
Yes.
trustee Brad,
Yes.
trustee Calvater. Yeah. Trustee Paul Mikowski,
Yes.
trustee Hartman,
Yes.
President Langfeld.
Yes. Thank you very much for both of you. All right. We are going to number 7, same area. Discussion and possible action, Military Road, no parking zone. Chief, you want to come up and? Since the last time we did actually own the land.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I feel there's a lot of calls and stuff. Now. It's not just in my neighborhood thing, to be super clear.
No, it's just, it was unclear on what we
Yeah,
were
I
actually trying to, more than. Go ahead, chief, on this.
So last time this was proposed, we discussed it here. I think we discussed it in public safety as well. spent a lot of time there, talked to the school, they're the ones that asked us to do some. So this is kind of a 2-year project, but we needed to clean up some things before we could actually make it official.
All right, do I have a motion?
Yes.
Well, can we do it during discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented as soon as possible.
Second.
Second, all right, discussion, go ahead.
When you said, is it during times, like if there's a baseball game during the summer months at night, can they park it there or not?
Yeah, we didn't,
It's just
we have
more-
not received any kind of complaints
Okay.
that is happening. You know, I'm sure it gets congested, but we have not, it's during school hours.
Yeah,
that
sure.
it's.
And that's what the sign is gonna
That's
say.
what the sign
Yeah,
is.
so weekends, that's.
Weekends, nothing out there. Camera school.
I think obviously we need to do this, we need to do something short term, but longer term, I mean, you think even before. We talk about a wellness center or stuff over there, you know, even with the crossing guard conversation, like, can we go to PI sooner? Or can we talk about annexation of just the piece to connect over to Finis?
If you can get them to agree to annexation, that's fine.
Well, that's the thing, I don't know how that works, so that's.
Oh, you have to have them willing to be annexed, or you need 51% of the property owners to vote for it. So if you're only doing one, they're gonna vote no. So you would have to get permission.
Okay. I mean, it is.
Now, we can go that process, but that,
Right,
I would not recommend that.
Okay.
At all.
have we talked to PI at all?
Yes, we've talked to them a number of times, and at one point in 2007, they were
Okay.
actually gonna put 280 houses in there.
Right,
And that's how we did the road, and then the last time what we did is we put the road in on the official map.
Yep.
So that's what we've done, but no one recently have gone and contacted them and asked them if they want to sell or be annexed, and I don't know if annexation will solve the problem.
Well, and so I was saying that because like, you know, we wouldn't need everything, just the road. There's already a dirt road there.
So you would say we would annex it and then build the road?
Possibly, yeah,
Oh,
connect
okay.
Evergreen goes to the base.
No, I know what the road is, but generally the developer pays for that. We don't usually pay for these streets.
Right. This would be, I don't know, possibly an exception given safety concerns, you know, I mean, you know, again, it's coming up with the safety, you know, there's kids trying to cross.
Right, but let's get back onto that. That's the topic we can certainly put on a future agenda, or you and I can talk and I can give you avenues you can to look at it. But I think if you look at the cost of just that one block, which you saw in your budget.
Yeah.
Of doing,
Look,
Park Street.
and just to build a little bit on what Cameron was talking about, I truly think even if we got a sliver and made it a walking path for kids to get back into the school, it would help alleviate some of the congestion.
Yeah. Yeah, we may, I'm just,
We could even ask for.
there's a big cost to putting roads in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be, you'd have another way to get to school, another place to drop kids off. So it's not crazy.
Yeah, that could be. All right, so we're back on the parking. Any other discussion tied to the parking? Cameron.
Tied to the parking, so, sorry, the baseball games don't cause like congestion over there, but I have noticed sometimes when they do park along that side. Along the baseball field, they will get really close to there's like a little island safety thing for the kids to cross to slow traffic down. If you get too close to that, you can't get around the car to get through like past the island. And I've had to go on the wrong side of the street to get
Or
around.
maybe we can get Jerry to paint yellow,
Well, so that,
because there's a law you can't.
that's what I was wondering is if it made sense to do something while we were already there doing this, to just, you know.
Put like a no parking
a no-
between signs and
Correct.
have two with
Correct.
arrows, we could do.
Correct. That's.
Like
that's-
30 feet on each side of the highway.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah. and it
we're
doesn't
gonna
need to
pay
be-
for the sign.
And again, it doesn't need to be a lot, and I wouldn't, I'm just saying if we're gonna, while you get put up.
All right, we can probably just change two of the signs. Go ahead, Michael, did you have something?
No,
All right, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Oh,
And you'll let Jerry know them.
Yep, I can do that.
He's here.
all right, number 8. whatever number it is right now. Discussion and possible action, partial acceptance of the infrastructure improvements of Scenic Valley Development. Oh, that's you, huh?
If you want it to be.
Well, okay, I thought it was gonna be Jerry, but go ahead.
No,
We're on that, the one that talks about accepting like,
page 70.
so we can follow, it's in that situation where we have to be able to plow the roads. So I-
To the resolution. And they approve the resolution.
Right, it's the resolution. I don't know what. it's on my head.
71 is the start of it all. Phase 1 and phase 2 have both had requests for acceptance. As you guys know, that development, the assets associated with it would get dedicated to the village. So phase 1, it would turn essentially all of that over to you. There's a couple little things to be addressed next year. And then phase 2 is the first layer of asphalt so that the village can begin plowing that and using that as a village on street.
So I motion to approve the Scenic Valley resolution accepting certain improvements.
Second. All right, I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right. All right, so now we have the discussion and possible action, village logo policy. Mike, you want to come up with this? This was, again, we approved the logo years ago, seems like. And one of the things that were tied to it was to come up with a policy on its use. I think that's what's in front of you, Mike. Did you write this?
I did, the
memo
or the policy.
The policy.
I did, yeah, I wrote both. I just wrote it obviously for preliminary discussion for you guys, if there's any changes or anything you'd like to see. Obviously, the department is looking at this as we have a couple of new signs that are looking to come into the village, so sign man is in the parks department that was brought to you back in December of last year. I think that's when it's done, so. Just looking at the policy on the books, and make sure that the logo is being used in this school.
All right, does anybody have any changes that they'd like to see with this policy?
I just want to ask a question or just say, okay, so this is just something I'm throwing out there. I had a discussion with Mike about this. We talked about it. And this is just more informational because we were talking about this because we're doing like village branding. The one area that this doesn't talk about is it doesn't talk about whether or not the logo has to always be used completely in this, its same coloring of the orange and blue. Because Mike will sometimes use the logo with certain things and it just gets turned into like all white on a black shirt. Do we care about that or not? If nobody cares, then it doesn't matter, you know, the policy is good because it doesn't say you can't you know, change the colors or that it always has to be the same color. Some branding things are like, it always has to look the same.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
And that is my only comment, bringing that up since we're doing the logo, just wanted to check and see how people felt. Because he does certain jerseys, he showed me one, you know, it's a blue with a gray logo on it, and he flip it inside out, it's gray with a blue logo on it, but it's just one color because he does bunches of colors on things like that, the costs start to go up, so. Just making sure that we're fine with when things like that happen to the logo, it's still the logo. Obviously, this says when you're putting it on business cards, et cetera, that's kind of where it sort of reads like it's the official logo, like it has to have the two coloring on it, like when it says pre-approved uses. And then there's, yeah, that's all I wanted to say, just so we know, if you ever see one of the ones that's just all white.
I'm gonna beat him up.
I only have one quick question.
Go ahead.
Where you just say, the use of the logo by the Trinity, approved by the village administrator for apparel purchase by an employee or individual for promotion. Like, cause I know on the website, we can buy swag, so that's not like.
So we have that out now, so we would give that to Brian prior to sending it out to you or the community, you know, when we're doing this, like, we already had one rolling before this came up.
Right, cause I want some last.
But I figured it, you know, because some of that way he'll see the designs before we send it out to make sure like the color schemes or whatever it is. And more, it's just making sure people aren't making changes to the logo. You know,
Right,
trying to
but
get it out.
the community can wear this way.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's the
people
one.
can wear them. I think what we're saying is there's gotta be a checks and balance and the administrator, if he wants to do something like that, the administrator has to approve it.
Oh, okay.
And then anybody can do it.
Right.
You don't each as an individual need approval from you. All right, can I have a motion, please?
I'll have a motion to accept this as presented.
Second.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to approve the Village of Cross Plains logo policy
That,
as presented.
that's a tough motion. You said, I motion to accept this. thing.
Well, that's why I wrote it, when I repeated it, I've been doing that, repeating it, so everybody knows.
Okay.
So you're correct. When they say as presented, I've been reading out what it is, so
Okay.
we don't get the confusion 2 years from now.
Right, okay.
Yes,
I make a motion to accept the village logo policy as presented.
Who was the second? Me?
Yeah, do it much faster.
any,
Oh, it's-
Okay,
He doesn't
done.
talk loud enough.
all right, we got that clear? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed, same. Okay, been done. All right, number 11, discussion and action. Discussion and possible action, village water / sewer adjustment policy. If remember at the last meeting, we had this discussion. I volunteered to write a policy. It just so happened we had one written in 2017, which I wasn't aware of, so. We have the policy, that's what's in front of you. The question on, does everybody know about this? Because the fairness question that Judy brought up, as you can see, Becky has taken that to heart. And every time there's a red flag that comes out, she sends something. So I'm confident that has been taken care of. So the question is, do you want to do any type of modification to the policy? I think it's well written and makes sense. So, Judy,
So like I see this letter which she sends out to the people at the new houses, but then she did say something about a pool. So if she sees on 2611, I filled up my pool, she will, then I don't have to pay that.
no, she'll send you a letter saying, hey, we noticed that your water bill is over 10%, was it? Or whatever number she said, here's our policy on it. That's what she does. So everybody's notified. So it's not the people who know do an appeal. Everybody gets that, so they can choose to do an appeal. Some will not do an appeal because it falls under a policy. A pool would not be one that would be exempt. If I read it correctly.
No, I think a pool would, because the waters are going back to the water treatment plant.
Oh,
The water's being
Yeah.
put in the pool,
Okay, I read
it's
it.
right on the ground, that would definitely be exempt, because it's not
okay,
going back to the treatment plant. That, the whole thing is going, it goes back to the treatment.
right,
plant. That's-
Gotcha, okay,
I like it.
all right.
Yeah,
So we don't have to take any action. This was brought up because we had that discussion. I didn't write a policy because we have one already, so.
Didn't we also want to be proactive with like new developments to,
Yes.
so if we can add something to that effect, like this, instead of sending a letter out. Once they hit whatever threshold of water use, I prefer to send something out proactively. When they're entering the village and having to go through the rigmarole to do that.
It'd be like,
So,
that would be like a different policy though, right? Like a welcome letter to the community, to the developments
No, the developer can just tell
or
them.
developer.
well, we can have it in the developer agreement that part of their paperwork is they have to hand them a copy of this.
That makes more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more. sense.
Probably.
I guess when you buy a house, you get handed like stacks of paper, like you might not see it, like we could. When you buy a house here, you have to switch the water in your name. That would be kind of a good spot to give someone a letter or mail someone a letter with water switched in their name.
Are yards in, when they're establishing yards in new houses, does the builder do that, or you or the house owner, like when they switch the waters, and like when did, I mean, obviously. I mean, I guess if it's switching to you, you're gonna know if you're gonna be watering, so we'll read the letter.
I can only really speak from my experience. I did not get a letter. You know,
So Becky wasn't here.
Becky was, so I mean, I just had, strikingly high water bills, and so I contacted the village. And so what do I do? This is a new yard, and then I did get a hold of Becky, and she did tell me what to do, which was to make the proposal with the board and all that stuff.
All right, Jerry, you got,
To Michael's question, it all depends on where the closing occurs versus when the law gets established.
Right.
And I think since the policy got put in place, things have gone a lot smoother. And I think it works the way it is. Quite frankly, I think it's more effective for the resident or the developer, whoever. They're after they have in their hand the shock of a large water. They're more cognizant of the issue. Because it goes down the road, this new house might work fine for first 5 years, but then the appliances start wearing out. And they need to stay on top of the maintenance, flush valves and toilets and things like that. And this makes new homeowners cognizant of that. Doing it
all right. What is people's flavor here? I think staff has been doing it. I think it's been working, so I don't know if we really need to add anything to the process.
I agree. I like this proactive letter.
Yeah, I think it's good.
I thought it was really cool that we proactively let someone know, yard aside, just if your water bill goes up.
Yeah,
And we catch leaky faucets. I think that's an incredibly nice thing to do.
Yeah, we thought if for nothing else, this is good information for everybody to kind of know with new trustees, and it's not something that we kind of bring everybody into the loop on. So if nothing else, it serves as good information on education.
all right, we're good. All right. Let's go to number 12, discussion and possible action, 2534 Church Street sewer water adjustment. So
I move to follow staff recommendation, no adjustment to the September bill.
second,
Second.
all right. We have a motion and a second discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, we go to 14, discussion and possible action, village library repair bond. This one's yours.
You guys are cruising on the action. I like it. So this is everybody's favorite topic with the library issues. In order to pursue the performance bond, which if you've seen our spec books are 1,000 pages of CYA essentially, so that if and when these situations happen, the owner has a way to recoup some costs and get the project done. So in order to go after that performance bond, the village board has to act to declare CNC in default. And that then opens the door for Paul to go to the bond company and say that the village board has acted on this. What happens after that, I can't say with any certainty at this point. But the contractor has not been paid, what is it, 60,000?
Yeah, 57, I think.
So there's, and also a punch list of items that have not been completed because of that, and that's why we held payment back, so. Going after that performance bond then kind of opens the door for what's next, how these get finished. Who comes and does them, that sort of thing.
And I just, that is the one thing we kind of have to do to keep the ball rolling, but the other thought was, and why you have that punch list is we may just say to the bond company, let's just call it even, and then we keep the money and get these things done on our own. Some can be done by staff, some we would contract out. And it's from our engineer Brian, and I think Jerry kind of agrees that punch list is between a 10 and 15,000, or so we would have the extra 52,000 still in our bank account.
Yeah, depending on how the bond company goes.
Right, right,
We
yeah,
won't know that until this action.
right, but that is
We need to
something.
move on this to make that happen.
Correct. Yeah.
So right now, our next step in this legal battle is to take this action.
I'd make a motion to. For the village board to approve CNC in the poll. So we can move forward with seeking return the remaining performance bond.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. Cameron.
Mostly just like understanding what happened. We contracted out someone to build the roof of, or repair the roof of the library. It's leaking. We've said, hey, you guys didn't do it right, fix it, and they just ignored us.
So the leaking got resolved. Now it's
Other issues.
incomplete. I mean, downspouts are damaged, vents are damaged, there's some coloring issues. It's kind of this cascading effect of all these.
Right. And insurance paid for the fixing of some of the inside stuff. So this is the outside from the original contract, if nothing would have gone wrong.
Stuff that, yeah, they gave you a price for, you hired them, they just haven't done it and won't show up to do it.
That was when they did the tear off, it rained.
Correct.
Yeah,
Straight
yeah,
flag.
there was a lot of. Been a long process, so any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same, so moved. All right, wow, last item. Discussion and possible action, December village board meeting date. We wanted to do Tuesday, but we're finding there's a conflict with the court.
So Lisa thought if we had the meeting at 6:30, there'd be enough time for court to finish. Brian could restructure the room. This court's at 5 o'clock,
Right.
so she thought if we did 6:30, that'd be enough time.
I can't make the Tuesday.
I'm not gonna make that.
I might be able to do it on Zoom or whatever, but my kids will probably be in the background annoying everyone.
All right, how would Wednesday? I know you're out that whole week.
So you're talking like the 28th, right?
Well, our regular meeting is supposed to be the 26th.
Correct.
I'm okay with the meeting for the 26th, but oh no, that's a holiday for
That's
you
not-
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I could do it the week before, the week after.
Could you do the 19th? The Monday before?
I could do the 19th or the 2nd.
We did move our Parks and Rec meeting a week forward, so. This
I'm not sure it's all available.
Okay, so the 19th is a Monday,
Yep.
and is that in conflict with any other meeting, do you know?
No, it's a Parks and Rec would normally
Oh,
be that.
okay.
But we moved it to the.
Oh, gotcha, now I'm understanding what you're saying, okay. Well, so the 19th, would that work for people? All right,
I move that we move the village board meeting from Monday, December 26th to Monday, December 19th.
Second.
all right, I have a motion and a second discussion. Brian, that works. Bobby, that works.
Carlisle,
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay, and we can keep it at 6 then,
Should be fine.
everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
All right, 19th at 6 P.M. All right, very good. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. All right, so we're at adjournment. Motion for adjournment.
I motion.
What, having too much fun or what?
I motion to adjourn.
All right, do I have a second? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. Thank you, everybody.
Wow, it is.
That wasn't, I knew that was gonna be. I really thought they were gonna be.